Welcome, Valorant fans, to the second week of UPL's Valorant series. My name is Fellow, also joined here by Los on the, well, not Los, it's Los, short for Carlos, fun fact. I knew I was going to mess it up on the intro, man. I really knew it. He used to go by Pro when we casted beforehand. I was like the only guy who called him Pro, so he changed his name to Los, and I knew I was going to mess it up live on air, but hey, we've got plenty of downtime to do that, so why the heck not get it out of the way at the very beginning of the introduction. But you'll have us for tonight on the caster desk, and we've got a bit of an exciting matchup, a couple of fun maps to go over when we get towards that junction. But hey, Los, how you doing? How are you feeling tonight, man?
I'm doing pretty good, fella. Thank you for the backstory. People needed to know a bit of my lore. And
Yeah.
we definitely have a good matchup for you tonight, folks. Last time around, we were checking out the Vandal conference of this Valorant League. This time, we're hopping on the other side over to the Phantom conference. And this match tonight is going to be between OC Esports and the Grid Crusaders. Now, OC Esports is a returning squad. They've been through this ringer. They've been through the Unified in the summer 2021 league, and they were actually pretty decent. They came in third place during that league, doing well in their own division. I believe their record was 3-1. So they're a pretty solid team, and I'm looking forward to them to continue their success. But on the other hand, we have the Grid Crusaders. Now, these guys they're newbies. They're newbies to the league. They're just getting into this matchup, this whole series for the first time. This is going to be their second outing. And I'm not sure if it's going to be as good as they hope, because if we take a look at their original record when they made their premiere last week, they had lost 0-2, and one of those losses was a pretty crushing defeat over on Haven. It was 13-2, so not like a great start that you would want coming into this league.
Yeah, they weren't looking too hot, maybe after kind of settling in the water, not really flopping in side to side. Maybe they'll finally get their footing in the right direction and they'll start winning some maps and maybe even some matches altogether, as there are several different maps they can pick and choose from to see where they want to actually go up against. And I know we did a little bit of theory crafting behind the scenes to see where we're actually going to be going, and I think we were able to hit the nail directly down with the hammer quite well. And since we have the map bans up, I guess we can go and finally talk about them. Fracture and then also Haven banned off the rip. And that's one of the maps we assume that Crusaders would probably ban because they didn't really do that good on that map. So now we get a little bit more variety into the mix. Icebox, Ascent, and then the Decider of Bind. Sadly, no Breeze, but maybe in another dimension we would have gotten the luxury of casting that very tropical map. But oh well, it'll be rejected into the ban phase now instead, sadly.
Well, speaking of another dimension, I mean, Fracture. There is no fracture in
Yeah.
this matchup, but there is a fracture in my heart for us not being able to jump on over to that new map, because it's so fun to jump into in ranked or just queuing up. I want to get good at it. I want to learn how to play it, but that's the exact reason that we aren't seeing it right here, because I don't think anyone has mastered this map fully. And there's no way they could have mastered this map because it's so fresh, it's so new. And I guess even though OC might be feeling confident after their first week here in the Phantom Conference, they're not trying to let this steam blow off. They want to keep it hustling. So they're going to have to throw that map away. Unfortunately, also the other fun map, it's going to be Breeze. A lot of tough bans in this series.
Yeah, real unfortunate, man. I've kind of grown a small love for Breeze. It's kind of like a guilty pleasure because you don't see it all the time. This will be one of those many cases where we cannot, but it is definitely really enjoyable. Also, just seeing the wide variety of agents that you can pick and choose from on that map, because it's still kind of new, so you can kind of stylize it to how your team likes to play. Not so much a direct meta. Icebox, very different story. It's a much smaller map. The team compositions, you can kind of mirror match them almost all the time. There isn't a ton of variety that you can have. There is some minute things, but you almost see a guaranteed pick of something like a Viper. That's one of her strongest maps altogether. Sage, another great example. And as we go in through the agent selection phase, you'll probably see a couple of those agents either hard locked in, like the Viper, for example, or maybe some light hovers and maybe a tad bit of variety as we have characters on the Rays. I don't know how the hell we're going to say his name, Los.
Well, we got some intel before this stream started. They're going by Keo. And obviously
Oh, that's KO. Okay.
or Keo, KO, if you're going to send us your name pronunciation,
Okay.
thanks, Keo. We appreciate that one for clearing it up. This is a pick that they brought to the table last time around, and they did quite solid on that recent pick. I'm looking forward to both Keo and Entry over on the side of OC Esports, which are on the right. They are attacking. Defending is going to be Grid. They chose to defend in this first map. Interesting pick. What do you think, fellow?
I don't know why we ended up seeing Grid immediately hang in for the defense, as is the lesser half. This is the worst side out of the way, first and foremost. Honestly, I've got no clue. Definitely gives a lot more questions than answers, and in some situations that can make things much more exciting. Another exciting thing I mentioned at Keo, selecting the Rays. You don't see that all the time. You tend to see a Jet in unison with that Reyna for a double duelist composition, but instead we'll be seeing a Rays instead. And honestly, a big fan of, but you got to be able to utilize those blast packs and that high mobility, kind of similar to how you would with the Jet's draft and updrafts as well. It's kind of pick your poison, I suppose, but if not done properly, it kind of begs the question, well, why didn't you bother bringing out the Jet?
Also, I'd like to point out there's only one agent on each team who can bring out the flashes. And they're moving up through mid, just getting some information. They know they're there, but that Viper Orb will block off going through Orange, and they're just going to run it straight through mid. Kane's going to have to back off, and Shadow Core is pushing through. Grid over on the other side trying to defend A isn't going to have any chance. And this is going to be a pretty easy take for OC Esports.
Yeah, they've got nothing here to stop them anymore. Soon to be post-plant entry, a great frag on towards Arczean. That just leaves Tom Lee 1v4, and he'll just get eviscerated by Shrani. He finds a third with the Frenzy at hand. A pretty quick and easy round win for OC, and that can allow them to go and buy a couple of light SMGs, maybe a Vandal or Phantom, whatever they end up picking around. And since Shrani had so much success around number 1, he'll be able to fully buy a rifle. So that could allow for a very easy bloodbath on round number 2, basically forcing Grid Crusaders into a full save, and then they can buy the next round after. But that's all standard stuff when it comes to the game of Valorant. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy to speak about in those first couple of rounds.
Well, they're going to have to buy a Phantom because this is the Phantom Conference battle.
True.
It would be illegal to buy a Vandal round 2. A Phantom, now that's fair game. But this time they're taking their aggression over to B site. They're blocked off by that Viper wall, but they don't even care. Keo's just pushing on through. They are getting some damage over onto the player in 2, but they aren't making any hard damage. Don't want to push too close, but Keo's just lighting them up as they try and get some peek to maybe take a weapon off their hand. That is 1 kill over for Slam, who does remove 1 Spectre, but they're just going to follow up and take everybody down. I mean, this is what you would expect on that force round. There isn't much that Grid Crusaders were able to do, but still killing 2 enemies in that situation is pretty respectable.
Yeah, not bad. You tend to try to get at least 3 to your name, but 2 is not a bad number at all, because that can slightly worsen how your economy might look going into round number 3, especially now that you have to worry about the rifles. Once again, you really need to think about more or less round number 4, round number 5 when it comes to gaining that momentum, as these first 3 rounds are kind of set in stone, as now that full rifle is coming into full effect. This should technically be a guaranteed win for Grid Crusaders, but honestly, Los, I'm assuming that OC Esports, they'll still give Grid Crusaders a run for their money, as they're already initiating into the A bomb site.
Let's see, Keo, that entry. Oh, Shroni with an attempt to get that flank over from mid. It doesn't work out this time, but they are just being spread too thin. Schlam didn't have an opportunity to check out both angles because all of them are covered by OC right now. It's up to Blue to try and get an angle from Raptors, and they are just not going to get it, but an unfortunate reload will allow Blue to pick up that first kill. This is definitely a winnable round if they could just make their way onto the site. Soves desperately hurt. They just have to push on and make that commitment, but it's looking even more dire as we speak. But let me hold that thought, because Arksy, with a good flick over on entry, made this more possible, and this is even more doable now, but they have to be quick.
Oh, we just have to play time at this point. Oh! What a right click, but yeah, he's got no time. Ah, a great shot by Argsy, but sadly not enough to end out the round. OC Esports will still take the victory, and a lot of blood being spilled out on both sides. Definitely a very upsetting loss there by Grid Crusaders, as that should have been around for the taking, and now that momentum can easily be built upon, like I mentioned a few rounds prior. And honestly, just the fast-paced assertion by OC Esports, it has not been countered well enough by Grid Crusaders. They're able to get so much control into that A bomb site almost instantaneously, and that can even be said on the B bomb site, as the only thing here to really stop them is a Viper toxic screen, and that can just be easily pushed upon in a matter of moments, especially when you have the recon bolts, the owl drones, and even the raised boombots just honestly gathering a plethora of information by your backside. And once again, OC Esports, they start out with a masterful entry, and they're looking to get the plant down as well. Everything is just looking to be in their ball game currently. It would honestly take just a miracle for Grid Crusaders to bring this one back.
Well, they don't have full control yet, so, okay, well, just as I say that,
they regained
there goes the control, as Shrony is just doing absolute work. Schlam from Kitchen does manage to get a nice kill with the Guardian, but that's all they can manage. Is Entry and Shlomi are really taking Grid Crusaders to town right now.
I mean, there really is no other way to put it. They start out strong and they end out even stronger, now forcing Grid Crusaders to go on towards a full save. And Thralt Eco is not looking all that bad either. Everyone is basically 1 or 2 ticks away from getting it, and Schlam does have his Empress ability at hand, but so does Entry, and Entry has been doing quite phenomenal on that duelist role as well. So it might just come down to a duelist differential in this upcoming round, since OC Esports, once again, everything is just boding quite well for them, and they'll start out with another assertive take, just already trying to get control of yellow as quickly as humanly possible, and there you have it.
Entry activating that Empress, wants to get through and disrupt any defenses that they have, trying to get that angle through into Snowman, and there will be a challenge from Schlam.
Wow.
With a nice Marshall headshot. That's not going to create a huge opportunity for them, but it does scare them a little bit. That alarm bot's going to ping them. Are they going to be able to capitalize onto that damage? What really matters now is getting onto site and removing guns from your enemy, picking up those and converting it into a potential frag. They're holding on strong. They just need to entry. Running through is Tom Lee. He's going to distract Shadow for enough to get killed himself, and this is actually turning into a 2v2. A 1v2. Hio finding the first kill. He's going to manage a second, and he does.
Oh man, 5 in a row now for OC Esports. They are just simply on top of things currently, and honestly, the fact that the Viper's Pit ended up coming down, I really did think that Grid Crusaders had a fighting chance in that, but towards the end, they just simmered down when they needed to just continue on that pressure in the post plan.
Yeah, I mean, they still did pretty good, I would say, for the fact that it was an eco round. They did manage to pick up 3 kills, which isn't as bad as you would imagine running in with pistols.
No, not at all, really. That still was a pretty decent round, but still losing it out 5 in a row. Definitely not the best of positions, but that's a great position for Slam to find that first entry, and Showstopper comes into play, but there's the equalizer! Massive ultimate just rushing into the bomb site, looking for a third. KO can't find it, as Kane is there with the trade. Here comes Path, but he gets shut down by Tom Lee, forcing a 1 versus 3. We could finally see Grid Crusaders actually win their first round on Icebox, but it is a 2-on-3 after that resurrection comes into full effect. Things might have taken a turn for the worse. It could take just a singular refrag and the spike to be locked into the ground to make this winnable. There goes the trade. Now turn 2-on-2. Hunter's Fury comes in through, but it's not a complete default plant. The bolts, they're going to miss in a dire moment here, wasting the ultimate ability, not gathering a single bit of intel. The only thing you could have to work on other than your own gun skill is possibly that Viper's Pit. Recon bolt comes in through. It won't gather direct intel, but you know someone's playing behind yellow. There goes the screen and possibly Actually, a smoke as well by Viper. She gets shut down, though, by Sage, and now it'll be a one-on-one between Shrony and Kane. He's watching down that spike quite well. He hears the diffuser get ticked down, and it's an easy sightline. 6 in a row for OC Esports. A perfect resurrection turned comeback victory by the attacking side.
That wasn't an unfortunate case of timing right there, because looking at the bomb, it was Shrony. He peeked the second that Kane looked away into the other angle, just narrowly catching a glimpse of the character model, and knowing that it was all but done, because Kane was going to have to go for that full defusal. The fake didn't work out, had to make a commitment before that bomb was going to explode, and Shrony took advantage of that one.
Yeah, that was just perfect play style by OC at the very end. And what a showstopper as well. I mentioned that earlier, utilize the blast packs to get around the map much more efficiently. If you coalitionize that with your ultimate, you can find some easy entry kills off the rip, and that was just a perfect just playthrough of that, making it that 3-on-3, giving your team a little bit more breathing room to work with, and being able to analyze the situation to bring it back into another round win and not give any momentum to your opposition. They still, Grid Crusaders, they have not found a round win as of yet.
That would have been their perfect opportunity to score their first round. But, you know, what can you do when Keo double blast packs right into the perfect angle for that showstopper? It was traded out by Kane. You know, they still had site control, and it was a very winnable situation for them. But the total removal from sight by Shadow Core to go for that resurrection, it made it all fall apart.
Yeah, just not what you wanted to have happen there for Grid Crusaders. Once again, A being a very high point of contention, but you're not going to have to worry about losing people off the rip for OC, as they'll be the ones entering off the bat 5-on-3, and there goes the site aggression. KO gets one onto Schlam, nullifying that kill by Tom Lee, and Path follows suit onto the Killjoy, forcing Argsy, a Sheriff, and a Dream on the flank to try to win this one out. 1v4 post-plant situation. Once again, you've got that Viper's Pit. Probably not going to use it, and what a time to question that factor, as Path will be there to eradicate him from the process. And now turn 7-0 for OC Esports, but that round was expected to be a loss, as basically everyone, but I believe Kane, had a Sheriff at hand.
Hold on, do you see this on blue? Buying the light shields. Has the 4700. Yeah, it's going to be an operator.
Oh, there we go.
First one of the map, the series. Let's see if blue can turn their luck around using this deadly sniper. I mean, they're on the jet. This is what they're made for. And look at that stack over onto A. They're expecting an A hit, but that's not what they're going to get.
No.
One player defending over on B, but the use of the Viper's Pit actually will be crucial in this defense, sending out all the utility they got. It's going to be Keo trying to smoke out Artsy, but they won't sniff that Viper out just yet. Now they revealed themselves with Shrony tagging that turret over in kitchen, but if Artsy can get this timing right and get this first kill of the round, but no, it'll be so late that Kane will fall first. It only matters to a trade and not that first pick. This is going to be the time where OC will take sight and go for that safe default plan.
Got to worry about that flank, which is afoot now. Schlam is from behind, just chilling out in garage. Great shot on towards Shadow Core. Now the man advantage back in the favor of Grid Crusade. They will throw down a lockdown as well. That will make a ton of space. Blue with the op gets rid of one as well. Down goes KO. Path will try to respond though, but it's only good for one, as Argsy removes his teammate of entry, forcing him to pop out the Hunter's Fury. He can tag up one, but that diffuser is still being ticked down by Blue. Path a great shot on towards Tom Lee, but it won't be quick enough to stop that diffuser or stop Argsy from fragging out of his mind. A great wallbang headshot, and there we go. The full rifle buy, pardon my minor stutter there. It actually works out, and it'll stutter the 8-0 flawless round sweep away for OC Esports. Finally, Grid Crusaders, they're on the board.
This is exactly what GC needed. They needed to get that one round on the board, because all it takes is one to spark that fire underneath you. If you can get at least one, you can get two and make it even 5 to have a good, successful defending half. I mean, keep in mind, they chose to be defenders on this very attacker-sided map. So we would think that they had a better plan, a better game plan, a better understanding of what they were trying to do. But Schlam finally with a bit of aggression over there onto Pipes finds not one but two. Well, one will be resurrected, so it won't exactly matter. But Schlam is going to keep it going with the third kill. Are they going to be able to keep it up? They don't need to because Blue is giving that support. Finally dropped with that paint shell will be Schlam. Jumping out to the side is going to meet Blue and the business end of an operator. A good flank by Kane as well. Continues the momentum that Grid Crusaders had. That's a good round for them to win.
Nothing personal, just straight business by Schlam and the rest of his team to clean up the few remaining members of OC Esports. Very dominating round, and they're going to need a couple more to seal the deal on this first half. It's expected for them not to have that great of a round differential between them and OC Esports in terms of being in the lead, but at least just getting between 4 to 5, if they win these next 3 rounds in a row, that would be a pretty damn good first half, and that could actually set them up in a really good position to do quite well on that second half, so long as they can win that second pistol. But what's going to stop OC Esports from just all of a sudden on the turn of a dime, just bring back all that momentum in their hands as they're already starting out with a very dominating push with the Viper's Pit leading into B?
It's going to be very difficult to try and defend, but if they're going to use those nano swarms, shouldn't be too bad to force them into delaying that plant or making it much more readable to see where it's going. Emperor's popped over by Schlam. Doesn't bring anything good for the team as they're going to get shot out through that Viper's Pit. At least I believe it was through the Viper's Pit. It's going to be an unfortunate attempt to retake this one. This is a very difficult situation to just try and push yourself in, because not only is Shrony not in the Viper's Pit, they're patrolling, looking for anyone trying to poke through and get in, get some sort of angle. Shrony might be getting this timing, but no, Arxie gets that first look and takes him out. The Viper's Pit is gone. The major defense that they had was gone, but here comes the showstopper, and it stops the show for Tom Lee. Kane falls as well. Blue and Arxie, the last one's alive. Only a sliver of health to this Viper's name, and that potential shock dart would be enough, but do they even have enough time? Even if they were able to secure those kills, they would have no time to defuse that bomb.
Yeah, great post plant at the very end. Sadly, KO's going to end up dying due to the explosion of the spike fully detonating. Not a big deal to still get that win in your back pocket, so it's not the end of the world. You can still have plenty of money to go for a full buy. Great stuff. Once again, OC Esports, a really strong recovery, and starting out with the dominating push, starting with the Viper's Pit, really did allow them to make a ton of space, force out a couple of nades here and there, and although in the end Shrony ended up dying on out, it burned through so much time on that spike, it really didn't even matter.
Well, you know, we were expecting them to have a better momentum following that those 2 rounds, but you know, OC, they got those first 7 for a reason. They weren't going to let it slip that easily, and Shrony with a very aggressive push. You know, the thing about this squad is that they do not care. They are very aggressive. They are willing to make those daring pushes. But, you know, if you make some daring pushes over on A, it's going to be Schlam that's waiting to slam you for sure. If they could keep this up and take out entry, that might spell some good fortune for this round. If they could get the timing right. No! Ooh, not a good moment for Schlam right there.
No, not at all. But hey, at least Entry will get a taste of his own medicine from a long shot by Tom Lee. Spike will still go down, though. 2 versus 1. Definitely winnable for Tom, but he is on very little HP. But so is the Rays. If he can find at least that first pick, that could be massive, but his position is well known, as the Eldrin will spot him out pretty seamlessly, and Path will clean up the kill at the top of heaven, and will make it a 9-2 split, favoring the side of OC Esports. Hopefully we won't see a 9-3 split, or the 9-3 curse, I guess you'd say, from that split, but I am really hoping that we don't see Grid Crusaders get shut out so badly in the first half.
You know, if it's going to continue the trend of what they did with Haven, we might see them ban Icebox next series.
They're going to run out of bans, though, Los. It's just going to come down to that, man. That's why they banned Haven. They didn't do very good on that map, and now they're just... They're not doing all that well on Icebox either. I honestly Not too sure what the problem is other than just a lack of frags most of the rounds, but there have been moments where Schlam has popped off, so it really does beg the question, what is the bigger problem? Like, look at that! That's a perfect shot! Schlam just good knighting KO off the rip, looking for another, might be able to find it. He did some damage on Torchetto Core, but not enough to fully eradicate him, and there goes the assertion once again by OC Esports, wasting little to no time. Shrony with 4 versus 2 situation, soon to be post-plant, and from behind, Shrony strikes once again towards mid, forcing Arxy on the flank with Spectre from the attacker spawn to try to clutch up. Once again, another 1v4. He's good for the first one, but not a second, and it's 10-2 first half for OC Esports. I'm sorry for cutting you off, Los, but that was just a cannonball of a round for OC.
No, absolutely it was. One thing that I'm noticing is that Arxy is very late for rotations when it comes to an attack over onto A. Arxy has done a good job defending B site, but when it comes to a big push either through mid or just A proper, they're always the last one alive. They're always creeping through A main or A lobby to get one frag, one exit kill, and to no avail, really. It doesn't help the team out too much. I think we have to look at a faster rotation, because how many times has OC Esports rotated through this first half? It's only been one time when they forced out that resurrection and ended up winning the map or the round.
Yet for Arxy, it's been several times where he's been in that back flank position because he's holding B and has to go to A, and he just dies off the bat. He won't be dead in that current moment, though. KO will strike first on towards Kane, but it's nothing but red currently. Finally, though, Entry will stop the bleeding for a little while longer, but he has to go on the reload, and Tom Lee will punish him for it. But it's a constant back and forth. Ooh. But Path with 3! All back-to-back! Perfect aim, finding every single kill with a headshot, and once again, the pistol rounds boding quite well for OC Esports.
Wow, that was a great little head tap coming from Path. I really enjoyed that one. That was pretty nice. And I don't know what Grid can do at this point. You know, it is such a large round deficit, and must be very difficult for them to try and formulate a plan. You know, the mental game here must be very overwhelming for them at this point. This is a 9-round differential. They're gonna have to win 11 straight up just to come out on top, and doesn't seem to be working out for them so well with that initial pushover onto A. The aggression, I'm telling you, man, the aggression coming from OC Esports is unending, with Keo just forcing their way into the A lobby, picking up 3.
Just seems unbeatable too, as Arxy, the last alive, he will meet the same fate as his teammates. It was expected to be a win as they did have better weaponry, but now one more, and that will be Red Crusaders' fate sealed on a tomb on map number 1. A very snowy grave site too, as they are not looking too hot for them. Like you mentioned, Los, it is a huge difference in terms of round scoring. It's going to come down to this full rifle buy, a full-fledged commitment, as if they lose this one, Grid Crusaders, they will force themselves onto a second map before they really even began on Icebox.
Now, I don't mean to be too cynical, but I think at this point it's just going to be padding the stats for Grid Crusaders. But really, the only one padding their stats is Keo right now, going insane. Look at that aggression. Entry already in A spawn or A lobby to go for that flank. Where was this speed from Arxy when they needed it?
I suppose just sleeping. I guess you're waiting for the very end to put on a final show finale, I suppose. I'm not really sure either, man. But 4-on-4, maybe Grid Crusaders can turn this round back to a victory, perhaps, as they are looking to possibly go for a full rotation, and they might be able to beat OC Esports when it comes to that race in towards A, but then they have to worry about the retake. Luckily, though, Shalam is watching quite well. He gets rid of 2 very impactful players of Path and KO, but eventually falls to the wayside by Shadow. 3 versus 2, Grid Crusaders are in the lead. They might be able to try to go for a plan here, but it'll be, once again, a rotation, forcing that man advantage to no longer be in any one side position, as it appears that Tom Lee will finally commit into a B take. He's got coverage by Arxie leading in towards the back of B from that defender spawn, but he misses out on the opportunity to shut down Shrony. It's just all up to Tom Lee now. In the post-plant situation, position is somewhat known here by OC Esports, and as long as they just played for the trade game here, this could be just a massive upset for Grid Crusaders. They need to play on this time quite potentially here, and it might be the case here. A bit of a push back by Tom Lee. He really needs to juice out the clock and not give away his current intentions. Snakebite comes in through. Tom Lee from behind strikes upon Shadow Core. Only needs to find one more. He's going to go for the Nasa, but will it connect to Stein? I believe it has been able to, as it'll be a back push coming in through. Time is ticking now. You only have a few more seconds. You might just need to stick this. Pros don't fake. He'll get off it, and that will cost him his own life. Grid Crusaders, a massive victory when needed most, but can they do it another 9 rounds in a row just to get to overtime?
And I'm sure all of Grid Crusaders are breathing a sigh of relief after that clutch out from Tom Lee. That was a difficult one to win. They played that one perfectly, and especially considering that Arxie had that timing over onto Shrony in defender spawn, but just missed out on it, missed that duel, and made it way more difficult for Tom Lee to win that one out. But even so, going into this next round, they do not have full armor. They don't have full rifles. They do have a bulldog on hand, but, you know, that's not what you want going into a big round like this. But you know what? Schlamm is going to use those tools, use that Vandal to open up this round and forcing some of those players back. There's only one left on site, and that's going to be Path. He's not even on site. He's backed up into Raptors. They've completely forced off everyone, making this a solid take. But can they defend from the back? Shadow Core coming through with that flank. It's going to make things a little more difficult, adding an extra layer to this defense.
That lockdown, obtaining a single soul. You are still in a 3-on-2. Turn 2-on-2. Entry, a great kill on towards Schlamm. Looking for another, but Blue is just waiting patiently and eradicated by Shrony, and now back 1 versus 1 yet again. And this just might be a full commit. He could try to survive the snake. He got down to half, and now he's just playing the waiting game. Let's dissipate, and he will strike a Arxie. There it is. It was just only prolonged for OC Esports. Not 13-2, but 13-3.
It was just a matter of time to see if they were going to close that one out. Even with a singular victory on the attacking half by a good defense from Tom Lee on that post-plant situation, you know, it was a good effort put forward, but like you said, it was pushing back the inevitable. This was a dominant map for OC Esports, and their aggression is clearly a reason you do not want to put them on the attacking half on the first half of that map.
I think we needed to see more of that, because there were only a handful of rounds, period, but there were a couple of rounds where we actually had Grid Crusaders really perform, or at least number 1. But with all that being said, we will a little bit.
We're going to take a quick break before we get to map 2. We'll be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody, to the Unified Premier Valorant League. Dropping it down in the Phantom Conference now. We just came back from a brutal matchup in Icebox. 13-3 between OC Esports and Grid Crusaders. Now, that matchup was so quick. I mean, I guess we could say it lasted as long as the break we just took before coming back. How are you feeling about that latest matchup now, fellow?
I don't know what was worse, honestly, my internet or that gameplay. I humbly apologize on my behalf for that. My ping, once we got into cams back after map 1, it just went to 5K, and me and Hyper were trying to talk through production, and it was just robot. I'd hear him, I'd have to relay it to you. It was a mess. Hopefully, knock on wood, map number 2 will go a lot more seamlessly in terms of my quality and also the quality of gameplay, as that was just a complete one-sided affair with OC Esports wasting little to no time, sending us to Ascent. And I think after that very long wait, I think both these teams are ready up. Maybe they've went to go do something else, maybe go make themselves a nice hearty meal or just use the bathroom, something. I don't really know. All I know is that I'm glad to be back up here talking about map number 2, as it was a very long wait and it was several resets on my end, which were not fun to do.
No, probably not, as I would
No.
imagine. And we are gonna head, we are gonna head on
Uh,
over to Ascent, and this time we are seeing OC Esports going on to the defensive half, starting this one off. So we're seeing some good picks so far. I believe Jet and KO as a full composition. I think it's very viable. Not many people have experimented with this one too much in the competitive scene, but maybe we got something to work with here.
well, in terms of KO, this is probably one of his better maps. He's got some really nice lineups on Ascent, especially on the defensive half. So if you're starting out on that side, it's not the worst idea to pick him. And he's being hovered by entry, which how aggressive you need to play, especially with those daggers in the hands of a KO, that would not shock me if he's the one who ends up picking him. And boom, there it is. He'll probably get some backup from Shrony, who is someone who is doing really well on map number 1 as well in terms of finding picks. So this could be, again, just nothing but a frag fest and a very aggressive start by OC Esports, even though now they're on the defensive half in the first.
So did you see what I saw with Kyo hovering that? Oh, nope. No Yoru will make a
No,
presence here in
unlucky.
in Unified. Come on now, guys. You saw how that first round went. Throw us a bone, Kyo. Do what the people at home want and run Yoru. But while you were saying that they are a aggressive squad, they are on the defense going on to this first half. So it will be interesting to see if they will commit to that. Keep in mind, they don't have a sentinel for the defense. They are looking like a very strong offense team, but also, Astra does have those solid defensive capabilities, but coming from, Jet or Phoenix or KO, not so much in terms of holding it down.
No, not a lot, really. I feel like a Killjoy could have been maybe a little more of a safer pick. I think they just want to wrap this one out as quickly as possible and just really utilize the fact that we did really good in terms of just gun diffing them. Let's just crank that one up a notch. I feel like that's kind of what the loadout is kind of speaking here, to be honest. I want to hear your thoughts personally about it.
Well, it all depends on how they first play this one out. Okay, Shadow Core is just speed
Yeah,
running this first round, coming out with
I
two.
might have been right. I might have had a point there.
You are going to be right. I'm going to concede that point. Yeah, I was expecting them to play it back, hold it down, and actually play like they were defending and not trying to plant the bomb in attacker spawn. But we'll see. Shrony just going in for that run and gun dink. Unstoppable. It's all up to Kane to hold down mid, but, leaving blue all by themselves. Shadow Core gonna pick up 3 on that first round. The aggression, it's exactly what we expected from this squad.
Yeah, Buddy Ace for Shoni and Shadow Core off the bat. That's a great way to just express yourself off the bat, I suppose. Give yourself a name here, really, on Ascent. We might just end up seeing history repeat itself a little bit more than anticipated, as we'll have to see a full save once again every single time now for the Grid Crusaders. And I'm not even too sure if a full buy can even save them. How well OCE is playing every single round.
We have a kamikaze jet with the shorty, and that does manage to get one. Can it get a second? No, they don't manage to getting any damage over onto entry, and at this point, they're just gonna run it down. Schlam on the flank, doesn't have the spike. It's all the way over in A lobby by Gelato, and perhaps this is just a tactic to pick up a Spectre, if that's even going to be possible, because we have the Sova checking out mid, checking out markets. There's no sneaky deaky plays over here from Keo. They got it locked down. And what is this crosshair?
What in God's name?
And
oh
it
my
works!
What? Oh my God. Oh, what a one tap as well with the sheriff just making law around these parts apparently. What a damn good shot. I think that was just a troll crosshair. There's no way he's serious about that. Everyone has it. Wait, does everyone have it? Is that just a visual thing on our end, possibly? I don't know.
No.
No, it's not. Okay, I saw two people with it, and I was like, hold on a minute. Either I'm seeing things, or everyone's got this one on, and I've gone completely insane. Nope, it is just Sova, and wow, way to shut us up off the bat with a beautiful shot, even with one of the biggest crosshairs I've seen in game.
It's a blasphemous crosshair, I would say. Only psychopaths would use that one, but this squad on OC Esports, they are pretty crazy themselves. And now OC is going to have to go and defend this marketplace if they can hold it down. Tom Lee will be the first one to get that kill, making their way through mid, but they have nowhere to go. They've pinched themselves in a very hard point to be in. However, that aggression from entry, it's opened up the possibility of it if they decide to capitalize on that, because nobody's over on that site. Nobody's holding it down. Shrony, however, with that counter aggression pushing back through market, is going to cut them down along with Pat. The fact is, they were going very well, trying to push their way up through mid, but had no plan of what to do after they got there.
This has just been, once again, a slaughterhouse. 3 in a row, a full buy, not even saving the skins of Grid Crusaders. I really, honestly, I don't know what to say. They are just truly getting gun diffed at this moment. I don't really know how else to better describe this, as it's just constant domination by the side of OC Esports. And I mean, I don't really know what's stopping them from just getting a 4th one in a row, to be honest, except maybe just a little bit more passive play coming in through by Grid Crusaders. That could really be the only thing that's stopping them from dying off the bat, but nope, that won't even save them.
I think something they could learn from this is that they're on the defense. They're defending on this half. They don't know it yet. If they're going to work against that aggression, there's Shadow Core again. You are always going to find this jet pushing up through A, and that's a given. That's always going to happen, so that you have to prepare for that, because up until, or still to this point, they have done nothing to punish them. They have done nothing to dissuade OC from coming through and pushing them into their own spawn.
I mean, also, I really have seen a lack of general utility usage as well by Grid Crusaders. I don't know if that's me just going mentally delusional too. Same thing with the crosshair, perhaps. It feels like they're just kind of out of it on map number 2 already. The scoring is showing that quite well. The fact that they had full rifles on number 3 and still lost quite abysmally. It really is looking very hopeless, as there is a lot that needs to be improved upon. But hey, Argsy will try to prove me wrong, as he will end up using a couple of his pull abilities of his own, maybe going astral form for a few seconds, just trying to scope out for the rest of his team. And Aldrin comes in through as well, try to gather a little bit of early onset information, but that won't guarantee you a frag. And Shadow Core just with the operator, one-shot body slam, and the rush by entry, it works, and he has the smoke to go away on a fadeaway. He's good for one. Maybe we'll try to find another one in a few seconds with a flash of his own. Already, it's just nothing but net currently for OC, but at least we'll see a trade finally for Grid.
Caught with his pants down, trying to throw out that nade. Doesn't work out for him. Shrony,
oh, no.
Another aggressive plays. It's just hard to see them walk all over the spawn of Grid right now. It's difficult to watch, but finally Arxie there with that trade out, making sure that they can't fully push through. So, but what's the plan here? How are they going to counteract this operator? They know that is there. I guess they have to rely on Shadow Core missing their shots and being able to push up through, getting that first kill. It's gonna be blue, and now they have a serious opportunity to make some plays, as Keo tried to push through the door, didn't work out, And now this is their chance. It's a 2-on-1. They got to get the bomb down. Path is going to make their way through, and Blue is waiting for that view.
Perfect push as well, really solidifying out Shadow and then using the smokes to impair his vision so he could do quite literally nothing with that weapon in hand too. Really nice stuff. Finally, for Grid Crusaders, they got the plant down, they had sight control. For once, they actually looked on top of things. But the question is, can they do it a second round in a row? Well, possibly. Blue has an operator of his own, but since everyone on the side of OC Esports has been doing phenomenal other than that 5th round, they still had plenty of credits saved up to buy a second one back-to-back, so it kind of nullifies that. And if you lose Blue off the bat, perhaps with that operator, or lose anybody, as once again Shadowcore will step up huge, then it could be all for nothing, as once again 5-on-4 favoring the side of, you guessed it, OC Esports.
Let's take a look who's in the attacker spawn right now. That's Entry, who followed up on the run it back coming through. And that's just going to allow easy operation right there. Smoothly walking through a Shadowcore, going to take down 3 entries, going to find another one to help him out. Nobody was even looking back there. I guess they assumed that with that run it back coming through from Shrony, nobody else was going to be with them. No one else would follow up on that, and decided that pushing through A-Long, probably not worth it. But it was indeed worth it for Entry and, of course, Shadowcore, because they knew that there was nowhere for them to go. They're all stuck mid.
Shadowcore just quite simply built different, apparently, finding 3 very impactful kills on that round. I think it definitely needs to come down to more or less just knowing to respect him as the operator. It's a force to be reckoned with. You can't just be wide swinging willy-nilly and hoping just not to die. I mean, they're just running into his sightlines without any proper setup, and Entry's here as well. It's 2 quick kills off the bat once again for Shadow, or the side of OC entirely. Shadow getting one of those many kills. Shlaim will get a nice frag on towards Entry. However, the damage has still already been done. He'll try to blind out KO, but it's not going to work out in his favor. He'll just mow him down with the Odin, and from behind, there goes Path on the Tom Lee. 6-1 now for OC, as just nothing is boding well for Grid Crusaders.
No, this is not looking good at all, but one thing I would like to point out, or ask you at least, fellow, how many offensive smokes have we seen so far?
I don't think... Probably I could count on just one hand, maybe not even use a hand. We haven't seen, again, a lot of utility usage, a lot at all. It's mostly been Sova and a little bit of Astra, a couple of Cloudbursts by Blue as well, but just like I said earlier, just not a lot of utility usage, at least done properly. And Jesus Christ, this Sova just keeps messing around with his crosshair. It's hysterical, and he just keeps getting away with it.
He can't keep getting away with this. This is...
Neither can Shadow.
Coming up with the curveball, he's gonna
swing,
fly through. Shrony does find one, and the aggression over from Entry will not pay dividends. This is gonna be evened up 3v3 on this. Man advantage no longer there. This could be easily won. If Path doesn't have that right timing, Blue can swing right through and pick up that crucial frag for them to move on to A. And there it is. This is their time. This is a good move. The lockdown will even create more space. If they can utilize this, if they don't walk into Shadowcore's operator right now, this is a very winnable round.
Just waiting patiently currently. This could be huge. Blue is waiting in the right position, but he's looking up above near the glass window. But neither of those Jets will end up picking up a kill of their own. Odin being traded on out here for a rifle, and Shadowcore will follow suit as well. Goes for a wallbang near the door, but cannot connect the shots to confirm a kill. And up above, we do have Sova up inside of heaven trying to gather some information. He spots one right around the area of hell. Shadowcore from behind in the doorway tries to step up inside of sight. He'll block off A main with a smoke, but you still have Argsy up in hell to shut that down. And a third he'll end up finding in the round. A second one boding well for Grid Crusaders, but this is just picking up the scraps of the main course which has been the case for OC Esports, really. It hasn't been a tried and true actual good setting for most of the side of Grid at all, really. I mean, I can't really think of anything else better to say. That was a great round win by them, but I mean, are we going to see much more from them, Los?
The issue is we're not seeing any set pieces. We're not seeing real strats to take a site. It's more of, well, they made a few mistakes. let's just go to A now and see if that one works out for us. There hasn't been any crucial placement of smoke, a good flash, a solid use of utility, flanks, or much of anything so far. But now we're finally getting to see that as they make their first official play, I would say, over onto B side. They do manage to lose one life, but Schlam is there to take some more out. But also keep in mind, we got Keo just sitting on the site. Nobody's even cleared it out yet.
Yeah, he's just vibing here. No one's actually trying to contest him. They're not aware of his position. Eventually, Kane will spot him out, and now it is just Keo. With his position well known, it'll be a wrap-up round for Good Crusaders. I guess I gotta hold my tongue down for a little while longer, as earlier it just looked like they were just aimlessly moping about, like you mentioned, just kind of seeing, well, maybe we'll get lucky this time. Maybe they'll overextend. And there was a lot of overextension on the round prior and a little bit of last round as well, but it came down to more or less just the ultimate usage and proper placement of Grid Crusaders. I'm hoping to see more rounds like that, but they did burn through a fair amount of ult on that past round, and everything saved up on the side of OC Esports.
Oh, Hunter's Fury is available. Well, he's not going to be able to utilize it for now. That Owl Drone sorely misused, being thrown into that KO knife. An unfortunate situation for Kane to find himself in, and he's just going to have to back off on that one and wait for a potential aggressive push, which, knowing OC, is probably going to come.
Yeah, they've been playing super aggressive every single round. That they're playing a little bit more far back this time around, which is quite shocking. Despite no one is going on a gigantic flank here, and they're actually getting executed on quite well. But there's Shadowcore from the back. He'll eventually get eradicated though, and it's mostly just a sea of red currently. 4-2 position as entry will finally fall to the wayside. Plant will be attempted down with the spike. It'll be confirmed, and Blue at the very end, a crisp headshot kill to seal the deal on the Path's fate. And we're getting closer and closer towards an even score line, Los, as it's 6-4.
This is what we've been waiting for. Actual plays, actual executes onto site, preparing that push up catwalk, as a unit, as a squad, and utilizing different angles to put real pressure over onto OC. At this point, there hasn't been much of that, and now that they're starting to face real resistance, I think they're slipping up a little bit here.
Yeah, they're actually, I feel like they're shaking just only a tad bit in their boots. Not all the way just yet, and wow, what a shot by Blue off the rip. Shadowcore, someone who's been so impactful in finding the entry, is already dead. He's the one getting entry now. This is a completely new team of Grid Crusaders, and they're just continuing this full forced push in towards mid, trying to get control of market perhaps, or maybe even go all the way around in towards heaven if it tickles their fancy. 4-on-3 on their side, looking quite well, and Blue is now up in towards mid as well with a great sightline through market. Try to possibly spot out players such as KO, but currently he's not overextending himself. A shot missed, possibly on the Astra, vibing on back behind as well and towards B, and it will be a mostly one-sided push in towards A, with a Schlam watching on the rotate, catches one. He's good for it, but can he find another one on towards Path? That's the bigger question, as he'll end up just moving a little bit further and deeper inside of mid, as it's soon to be a post-plant situation, as it is only a matter of time before entry just gets collapsed upon.
This is a very, very slow play, and Schlam made this an almost impossible round for entry to come through and win. Gonna send out that flash drive. Won't find any initial angles as he gets timing by Kane. Finally, Grid is coming through as a formidable squad. They are on the cusp of turning this into a 6-6 game, and I think they will. There isn't a ton of money over on the side of OC. They are going to have two people run light shields, and I don't even think they're going to have rifles for either path or entry.
Yeah, their pockets are looking quite empty, just nothing but lint in them. No money or credits to actually bode for them at all. We are really seeing a resurgence coming in through by Crusaders. It's actually quite phenomenal. They're giving the side of OC Esports a run for their money here. A dagger comes out quickly, and so a little bit of intel gathering as well on that side. So will a Hunter's Fury. It's just nothing but net currently. Rush by Path denied beautifully. Now to 4-on-2, turned 4-on-1, as after Kane just went on a tear, Tom Lee will finish off the lone player. it's just forcing the lone so a KO near market just to try to clutch out, and similar towards entry on the last round, it's not going to work out for him in the slightest, and we're in a 50-50 split, Los.
This is exactly what we've been waiting for, fellow. This is where Grid can come back and show that they are not going to be bullied any longer. That's exactly what they are saying with these last 5 rounds in a row. They have not let their grip slip from this game on the offense, when usually this is expected to be a more defender-sided map. Now they have the better defense squad. Are they going to be able to keep that up? The question is, OC Esports is known for their aggressive plays. Can it work for them on the attack, or is their poor aggression, their poor decision-making from the first half that led to that 5-round loss going to cross over into the second half? Only one way to find out.
As we hop right into the second half, it'll be a mostly a main push with just the Phoenix just kind of chilling out, watching near the middle area, waiting for someone to possibly wrap around from Fountain perhaps. And here comes the aggression. Some cloud burst here with some great coverage, but Kane will not be thwarted by it in the slightest. Looking for another, he won't be able to connect onto it, but the rest of his team is there to quick backup. Constant trades coming out by both teams, and it's now down to a 2-on-2. Path with 2 massive frags will be shut down eventually by Schlam, and now forcing Shrony 1 versus 2. It's a team ace as everyone chipped in on that round for the side of the Crusaders. Much better performances overall. This defensive half boding quite well for them, like you mentioned.
This is what you need to do if you're on Grid right now. You have to keep up that momentum, keep the intensity, keep those quick rotations as well. As soon as there was activity over onto A site, we saw the whole squad come together and work to get them off that site. And that's what we were lacking in Icebox. It wasn't a full cohesive defense or retake or solid site hold. They weren't playing as a team so much as they are right now.
And they are playing a whole lot better in comparison. We almost didn't see as many rounds up to this one. This is about 13, and other than that, I mean, it was kind of teetering towards it. I think it was about 16 rounds in total, so we will see more than that on Ascent than in comparison to Icebox, which is a bit of a flush out matchup. But now this one is neck and neck, a true game of tug of war currently. And once again, Grid Crusaders starting out strong. They get rid of Shrony off the bat. They've got that man advantage re-secured, and they're keeping the rest of OC Esports just in a stalemate currently. A swing comes in through once again. Arxie is going to win out that confrontation, and Tom Lee from A main gets rid of Shadow Core. Entry is not quick enough on that refrag. And now he's going to have to try to rush his way in towards A main, basically by his lonesome. If Astra is a few paces away, he'll have to get into some sort of confrontation before she can back him up. And it will eventually allow him to get a nice frag with the Sheriff at hand, but is he good enough for at least a handful more? As it's still a massive deficit here, 4-on-2 and now 4-on-1, as the smoke was not able to impair the vision enough for Arxie. Make it 3 for him, and that'll be a second round win in a row for the side of Grid Crusaders.
A little tactical crouching toward the end of that one. Arxie is very happy about this turnaround in the matchup. 7 rounds in a row here for Grid Crusaders. They are looking to be very happy with themselves. They are going to have to go with that bonus. Now they have to see if they could hold it down against these rifles. You know, they could do well on the pistols, do well on the force round, but can they hold it down when they're looking down the barrel of a Phantom or a Vandal?
Be the bigger question here, really. It's been nothing but net, but they could finally get blocked out from getting the slam dunk perhaps in this 15th round here. Another aggressive start once again as they try to get control of A at the very beginning of round number 15. Some Asher smokes impairing the vision of Tom Lee, and a suppression coming out by a Blade, I think, or either that or a Null perhaps. I'm not quite sure, but all I do know is that the spike has gone down. It's full A control for the side of the Crusaders, and I mean, all they have to do, or pardon of the Crusaders, OC Esports, even that I'm not fully aware of. They have to worry about the rotate, but that could really be it. And so far, they are shutting out the rotate relatively successfully. A trade will come in through with Blue getting rid of KO, but there is Shrony lurking around near Wine. He'll be good for 1, but the rest of his team is falling to the wayside. It's now just Shrony on such little HP trying to stop the plant from being diffused, and it's not going to work out for him. It'll be fully confirmed, and now it's 3 defensive round wins in a row favoring the side of Grid Crusaders. I mean, they're just looking untouchable essentially.
It sure is a an opposite look at what we saw from Icebox, fellow. This is a great defense coming through for Grid Crusaders. I mean, think about how not a single person died on that initial take. A single person didn't die on either side when the bomb was first planted. When the spike was first planted over onto A, both teams still had full members, and they were able to bring it back with that retake. Grid Crusaders really playing like they know what they're doing this time.
Yeah, it's a night and day comparison, really. There is no better way to put it. They are actually stopping the almost unbeatable force of OC Esports, but wow, a beautiful kill on towards blue, but it won't be enough to find another one. Schlem is there on towards Shrony, so that'll actually make ends meet quite well. Looking for a third, cannot connect it quick enough on towards Shadow Core. Now you could try to find a rifle pickup perhaps, but we'll get eradicated by ArcZ. 3 versus 2. There have been some impactful kills coming in the way for OC Esports, but they still need to find a few more in their back pockets before they can truly say that they might have a great chance of winning out this round. But considering the fact that they are running just only pistols, it is not looking all that horrendous for them in a 2-on-2. They've surely worsened the eco, and this is a round they were anticipating to lose regardless. They can even end up winning out this round. That could be massive, but with Entry 1v2 is now Tom Lee will get rid of KO. It's not looking to be that case, but hey, Entry has been landing some nice shots. What's stopping him from finding a couple more precise kills? He'll get a great wallbang headshot onto Kane. He knows the last location of Tom Lee, and he's good for it! Massive clutch by Entry, and shockingly, on the pistol save, they'll actually win it out.
Entry really came through clutch in that final moment, picking up both kills on Kane and Tom Lee. That is not what I expected to happen. A great use of those flash drives to create some disarray among the last two players. The fact that they weren't playing off of each other for that first contact to get that trade in is a bit of an issue. But once you introduce those flashes, it made it so much easier for Entry. And there was even a possibility when he was missing those initial share of shots that Tom Lee could have came back and saved it, but no, he was too quick on the draw. And now we're going to see how quick they are taking this site as Keo sending out that owl drone. It's a similar situation to what we saw a few rounds ago. They're playing retake, not a single person on the site. And despite that, they're going to go for that rotation. Shadowcore does get the first frag, does try and destroy that lockdown, but it was all a ruse. They're heading over to B.
Yeah, that was a perfect bait out for the lockdown, and now it's just a rush to try to stop this B take, and they're doing a somewhat decent job of it, Grid Crusaders, but it does still appear to be that OC Esports, they are on top of things currently. They'll get that spike confirmed onto the ground in a matter of moments, and so long as they don't lose Shrony here in this power position, this could be great, but a beautiful flick by ArcZ. Down goes your Phoenix player, the man advantage back in the way of Grid Crusaders, and you just have to worry about the two players set up inside of boats. A Hunter's Fury preemptively shot on out, but that's just to try to keep away the side of Grid Esports. Now you can reposition. Entry with one, not able to secure another one though, as ArcZ will find a third to their name, forcing out KO in the back of the site. There goes the Cosmic Divide as well, completely locking him out, and in the last-ditch attempt here, Grid Crusaders, they'll manage to secure that retake, and Kane even able to secure his Hunter's Fury at the very end of that round. Massive win for Grid Crusaders.
Yeah, there was absolutely nothing that Keo could have done at that point. He was stuck behind the Cosmic Divide, and they played it so nicely where Kane was forcing him into one corner to pinch him out. And, of course, he was caught with his pants down, pulling out those darts to try and get some sort of information or prevent any plant that was, or defusal that was going on. A great retake coming from Grid Crusaders. These guys are looking to take this map.
And honestly, I didn't think I'd end up saying that, but I think you might be right here, Los, unless we possibly give them the good old-fashioned caster curse. Some intel being gathered out. Kane could possibly find a frag with that Hunter's Fury, but no, he'll just tag up a couple of separate agents just slightly and give away a lot of vital intel. He'll end up finishing off Shrony, so it still works out in the end for him. Still trying to gather out intel in the soon-to-be post-plant, and now officially post-plant. The spike is fully planted. You've got that man advantage. You've got the Reyna waiting around for a possible flank, but you still have to worry about players such as Shadowcore, who popped out the blade. Now they're trying to look for more success here, but it'll mostly be just that Jet as the rest of their team is just falling apart at the seams. 2 versus 4 post plan, and you're on such little health. You're trapped inside of heaven, and Schlam around the corner. Spectre running and gunning like a drive-by. There we have it. 11-round wins for Grid Crusaders. They're doing phenomenal on this defensive side.
Absolutely. Only 2 rounds away from bringing us to map 3, that decider over on Bind. It's looking closer and closer every time one of these rounds comes to a conclusion. And all these rounds are coming to a conclusion with Grid Crusaders coming out on top.
There's only been one hiccup for him. A singular mistake, although a massive one it could have been, as OC were rocking pistols. They weren't anticipating to win out that round. It really did not stop them all that much. It basically it loosened up their shoelaces. They stopped from it to retie them, and now they're just running to the wayside, looking to secure a first victory on a map here ever in their whole career of this season for UPL. They'll start with a great entry, but it will be traded out by KO, so it won't be a complete massacre favoring the side of Grid Crusaders just yet, but they are at least trying to stall for time, perhaps, as it's looking to be mostly a B-sided push, and at the very end, you'll see Astra end up picking up that spike, joining the rest of her team near B main, as they're just going to try to flush out the very little presence that's left inside of this part of the map and really hope for the best, even allowing that Cosmic Divide to open up a lot more avenues of approach. But so far, Tom Lee, he really does not seem to be in that much trouble until now, as Entry finally gets rid of him from the process. Spike now being put down, but you still are at a man disadvantage, and that Cosmic Divide, it may be powerful now, but once you actually get control of the full-fledged site, it might not be as strong, and it actually dissipates. So really just completely nullified now at this point.
We've seen this story before where they're trying to hold down B site with just 2 of them in a very tough situation. Is going to be Entry trying to hold it down. Arxie, though, too quick on the draw, and we're heading to map point. What is going on, OC? Where has that momentum gone?
Down the drain, apparently, and I thought that Cosmic Divide would have been a little bit more helpful, as it was set up in a relatively decent spot, but eventually it just it really wasn't, and fully dissipating as well. There was very little hope for OC Esports. They were down the man advantage. They were trapped inside of boat once again. They were in a very similar position last time they went for an attack in towards B, and Grid Crusaders, they just got easy pickings on them at the very end, and now one more round away, and they'll bring us to Bind, something that I thought Grid Crusaders weren't going to be able to bring us to, but they have really turned things around a full 180 degrees. I mean, they're looking phenomenal now, and I don't know if they can actually be dealt with properly on map number 2 by OC Esports, as now they're at a fairly decent deficit. But hey, at least they'll get the entry, but then there's the trade.
Won't even be allowed to capitalize on that flash, but Shadowcore pushing through A main is going to pick up 1. Tom Lee will deny that push for just a little bit, and now it's all up to Arxie in a matter of seconds, hiding in the nebula. Will they be able to get away? Hit with 72, and now they lost map control. Walking through that shock dart isn't going to be smooth enough for you to try and take this one back, as OC Esports picks up their 2nd round of this half, staying alive on Ascent.
I feel like we've heard that line beforehand, but for how much longer can it happen to be? It's not as big of a deficit as 13-12, then soon to be 13-3. So maybe they will have a fighting chance. Only 4 more, and they can at least confirm overtime, but that still does not make sure that they end up winning out map number 2. Possibly, though, as it is a very jambled up buy on the side of Grid Crusaders, that could almost guarantee another victory by OC Esports. That depends if we just don't see Grid Crusaders frag out of their minds. Maybe Blue can find some masterful shots. So far, it will not be the case, though. OC Esports opens up with Shrony finding a very impactful frag. Now they've got full site coverage, and at this current moment, I don't even know if Grid Crusaders can really do much here, except just try to find exit frags, and so far, they're not even being able to do that just yet until Tom Lee steps up inside a market.
Yeah, this is a round that they're just looking to... Hold on a minute. They were looking to just save for the next round, but this has just become a little bit more doable with those careless pushes, and now even more doable, Arxie with the 1 dig over onto Path. This 2v2 just became a little bit more possible, but considering that the bomb has ticked for such a long time, it may not have enough time as Entry turns this into a 1v1. And you know what? They're saying, screw it. Going in for that kill, it's Tom Lee trying to get that finisher or just try and remove that weapon from Entry's hands. It does happen anyway by forcing them to fall to that spike. So a successful save round, I would say, considering that they're playing just to keep the game going and for them to have an advantage in the next round, which they certainly have. I mean, look at the economy. We don't even have full shields over onto Shrony and Path, two crucial members.
No, it's some lights and even a Spectre by KO. I think as well that was still, regardless of that was a technical loss, that was a massive blow to the eco, once again, of OC Esports. They have been on some very rocky mountains as of late on the second half, and maybe they'll try to make ends meet finally. Schlam will get suppressed. Maybe this could be an easy pick here for Shrony. It will be. Once again, OC Esports, they begin to collapse upon B instantaneously, starting out with one great frag. They could try to find another. They'll do that. The run it back being denied by Tom Lee, but that's really it. A spray down coming in through defender spawn. Not working out entirely, but at least it will still make some space. Now 5-on-3 and the post plant being confirmed as the spike is now down. OC Esports, once again, they are looking fantastic. They don't know Shrony's sitting in a dead corner. He'll get one. Not another, though, as Tom Lee is there, but it is only Tom Lee remaining, and he'll fall to the wayside by the hands of Entry with the last two cleanup kills of the round. Slowly yet surely, Los, we're actually seeing a bit of a recovery coming in by OC Esports, but they've got to remain very vigilant on these next two rounds.
Yeah, you gotta check your corners if you're trying to win in UPL, guys. You gotta check your corners. You can't let Shrony get some frags in a cheeky corner in CT like that. That's not allowed. But regardless, Entry picking up those two crucial and nasty frags in Marketplace are going to further entrench themselves into victory right now. If they win this next round, they will be broke. Grid Crusaders will have no money for this overtime decider, but I don't think they're going to have to worry about that because two major kills have slowed this push entirely. It is possible to bring back that KO to life. Only 3 seconds left. It's not worth throwing away match point for.
Yeah, he'll sadly bleed on out to the ground. It could have been doable, but like you said, the lack of time just simply was in the favor of Grid Crusaders, essentially, as they were not able to pick up KO for OC Esports. 3v4. You've got a minute to play with, so maybe you could try to go for a rotation, but Grid Crusader, they're kind of expecting that as they will try to alleviate some of that pressure that could happen near A, but that will currently not be the problem here. It'll still be a very heavy push in towards B. The saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and currently OC Esports, what's been working out for them? Just going into B and putting themselves in the post-plant situation, at least these past couple of rounds. They've now turned things around to a normal 50-50 shot here for them to win an 11th round and deny a victory that would bring them to bind. Spike being attempted here and now confirmed. OC Esports, once again, they put Grid Crusaders in a post-plant situation, and they're in some very rat angles if Shrony does not get pushed upon from behind near the backside of defender spawn, near that lobby area. If they're not aware that Phoenix is sitting up above, this could be massive. There's the first kill, looking for another. They're both blinded technically.
No.
A great one by Shrony. He's looking for 5. He blinds out Chad. Make it the ace. All 5 for Phoenix. What a power position. It pays dividends as they only need one more round to bring us to OT.
That last round was the Shrony show, and it's exactly what OC needed to push this one to the limit. You lost to corner peeking last round. Why wouldn't you not check your corners again when match point and overtime are so close to being on the line?
Oh my god. Yeah, the Shrony show, like you mentioned, and Grid Crusaders, what's going on? You were doing so good against OC Esports, and now you're getting entried again. We're at the very beginning of the problems you had. It was just overextension. You get a great flank, but the damage already being done inside of sight. Shadow Core with 2. He could try to find more, but he's on very little HP. The flank still being massive, though. Schlam looking for a third. He needs to win that. There goes Spike. It's down inside of B main, but there's the rest of the backup. It's forcing Shadow Core. 10 HP in a dream. Arxie, he'll finish it out. A close call indeed, and Bind, I'm sure as hell it's going to be an amazing third map as all of a sudden Grid Crusaders, they'll take the victory 13-11 on Ascent.
That was an incredible comeback by Grid Crusaders for them to be able to take so many losses, flip it on its head, earn 6 rounds in the first half, and keep it going all the way down to match point and winning in the end. They did get a little shaky toward the end, allowing 11 rounds to
Yeah.
accumulate over for OC, but holding it down with that fantastic flank and no one really being able to counteract that, especially because Phoenix was coming back from his running back and KO was, I don't even know where he was looking in that last moment.
Yeah, a lot of questions to be had rather than answers, I guess. But hey, I guess we'll save them for map number 3 as we should go into that quick little break, get it set up for everyone. And I didn't think I'd be saying this, but yeah, Bind, it's on our list now of what we're going to be casting this evening as we actually saw Grid Crusaders bring back a massive victory on the second map. But don't go anywhere. We'll go into that short little break and we'll see you all in Bind in a few short moments.
Welcome back to UPL Valorant. Come on, guys. Did we really expect to still be here after that matchup? I mean, I really thought it was gonna go down and OC Esports was gonna take it home in 2 maps. I mean, so did you, fellow, right? We weren't expecting to go to map 3, especially after the performance from Icebox. That was a very different team, a very different grid that we saw over on Ascent. And well, I mean, let's see if they can keep that momentum over onto Bind. What are you thinking right now? So I'm thinking we didn't see too much aggression from them in the latter half of the latter half of the first half of Ascent. They pulled back their offense of just charging them in their spawn. And do you think that might have been a bigger issue? Are these teams, or is this team all offense and no defense? Can they not hold down their own site? So rather than that, they resort to just pushing the enemy before they could even get there? Certainly. I mean, thinking of those post plant defenses, that being on the side of OC, how many times have we seen them push into B site, get that plant down, but they aren't fully situated on B as a whole? They all have to huddle into the back of site and they are easily picked off. They don't have a good setup. Save for that one time Shroni was playing it over onto the platform, resulting in a sweet ace. That was their shining moment. That should have been a sign to, hey, have a better grip onto the site. I mean, it was in later in the map that they figured out that was a good tactic. But regardless, they need to have a more grandiose post plant strat setup if they want to actually get that spike to detonate.
Yeah. Has it been mute the whole time, Hyper? It's not now. Awkward. Well, at least Los is able to carry most of that waiting segment. I apologize if my microphone is on mute. I kind of preemptively had it on mute just in case I had any internet issues, and I didn't. And then I forgot to unmute as well. But I definitely talked about a lot of important things. Team composition being one of them. Viper and Sky are picked a lot when playing on Bind, which kind of leads to some similarities when it comes to Icebox, which was a better play overall for OC Esports, which is why I was kind of thinking they would do a little bit better on here in comparison to map number 2. And we already see the Instalocks come in through for that Viper, and Sky is being hovered, but instead we'll see a pick instantly by KO onto the Raze. And once again, map number one, when he ended up picking out that duelist role on the Raze, he did a damn good job of picking out those entries and utilizing the showstopper with the blast packs just to get into sight as quickly as possible and find refrags. He ended up winning out a fair amount of rounds for his team simply because of that sheer aggression.
Speaking of aggression and that being from duelists, take a look over at the Jet on the side of Grid. They have swapped in Legend in favor of Blue. They're going in for that substitution. Maybe they're trying to see how this Jet op will work out over on Bind. Try and switch things up, and maybe this will be exactly what they needed to have a very solid attacking half.
Yeah, hopefully a little bit of a different synergy could bode well for you, maybe just different team compositions overall. Ascent and Bind can play out very differently in terms of team composition, and I'm shocked that on the attacking side for Grid Crusaders, we aren't seeing a Viper and we're not seeing a Sky at all either. She definitely is a little bit better to play personally on the defensive side, as you can one-man army an objective room in towards A on Bind. At least in my personal opinion, it could be debated quite well, but it really begs the question, why not bring one or the other, if not both of them, because of how good they are in the current meta and on the current map you're going to.
Well, let's take a look right now at this setup. It does seem to be an A take. And there's that aggression we know from OC, sending out the Roomba to spot out anyone, suss out, and smell out any attackers. And they're all there. Only one person is holding it out over by A main.
It's just going to be a Russian towards Showers, essentially. Like you said, only one player inside of A main, and they're just waiting patiently here, OC Esports. It'll be an instant 4-on-4, Schlam falling out in the very end, but you have U-Haul coverage by Tom Lee. He gets rid of one. Showers on the flank in towards Showers will get rid of Argzes, but you're in the post plant. You need to win that gunfight, though. Legend has to deny this push from behind, and he'll do that with the Frenzy in hand. Regaining that man advantage now, forcing Path and Sky in the 2 versus 3 situation, trying to get control of U-Haul, but they'll lose that confrontation as well by Tom Lee. Entry now trying to win this one out in a dire situation here. Losing that momentum off the very beginning to a pistol loss could be detrimental, and so far it will be. Grid Crusaders will take it with relative ease.
Doing pretty nicely so far. I mean, so far so good. Only the first round. A big issue on that one was Keo not having their eye over onto A short. I think the lack of vision when it came to that smoke covering Showers, they didn't know how many people were actually pushing up to A. So they didn't send over the cavalry to try and get them safe, to try and keep them from taking site control. And that might have been the big issue. We were talking about rotations and how OC was good on that, but this is that one time due to the lack of info, they weren't able to capitalize on.
This time around, it appears to be a B attempt from both Hookah and B Long. So far, working out really well. That first entry favoring Schlam. We have KO going in once again on the aggression, but the Spectre is simply better up against the Classic. A second now for Schlam. Now a third as he gets rid of Shrony as well. Legend, a great dink onto Path. Forcing entry, just, oh my god, it's just utility drainage inside of Hookah. Flawless round win for Grid, and wow, that was an impressive round at the very end, too. That was kind of hilarious, I'm not going to lie. Just everything thrown at him inside of Hookah. Just, well, I'm dead.
Yeah, no, it was... it was a little bit... Maybe they were even a little annoyed at that final player saying, hey, you really thought you were going to hold this one down? You really thought you were going to pick up a gun or something? Not going to happen.
Nope. Not at all. Can't even spare your own life, let alone anything else after that. Grid Crusaders with 2. I might have spoke too soon once again, having more similarities between Bind and Icebox, as we really are seeing a brand new team of Grid Crusaders, essentially. They're doing quite phenomenal up against OC Esports, and they just seem kind of troubled because of that. The full rifle buy working out a little bit in their favor, though, but KO will immediately get traded out by Legend, who will do his job well enough inside of Showers, and now force a little bit more to be bled in through by OC Esports, losing down on that man advantage. And Entry, I think he's just stuck inside of TP. Everyone has locked their eyes onto the lone man inside the teleporter doorway. this is not looking good for him. He can maybe just try to play for time, and I think Grid Crusaders were aware that, so they'll just back off entirely and now focus their intentions back into A, which allows Shrony to step up huge in towards A main, and Shadowcore watching up above and towards Heaven will trade out some damage between one another, allowing Entry to step up through the teleporter. I thought his fate was sealed in that tiny enclosed room, but no, he ends up finding 2 at the end and giving OC Esports their first round win in the first half.
Grid was definitely faced with a tough decision on what to do with that lone teleporter player. Entry knew that it was a big gamble. It was a big gamble to run through, but they had to try and make it in time. I don't think they realized there was going to be a double back to look at that teleporter to stop anyone from coming out there and getting that flank. I mean, maybe they're a bit sour about flanks ever since the ending of Ascent, and they don't want to have that happen again, but it actually turned out to be a very solid play as either a time waster or, you know, a potential threat from behind. And it was both of those things. Entry did it very well.
Rags to riches really for OC Esports, as I thought at a given moment that was not going to be a common 1-2 split. Instead, 3-0 for Grid Crusaders to really set the pace of map number 3, but that will not occur, and neither will an instant entry in the first 40-ish seconds or so of the round. A much more slower approach by Grid Crusaders, and they are being pushed back a little bit as well by plenty of utility on the side of OC Esports, but they're still gonna not have any trouble finding that entry. Showstopper runs in through, Path just staring down the barrel of death and his own fate, essentially. Entry gets one on a Kane, but Legend is there to respond quite quickly, and Arxie follows suit on a KO. It's just Shrani now inside of the defender spawn. He might just try to save out the rifle here, essentially, and maybe go for a couple of picks if anyone tries to overextend in towards him, as there really is very little shot that he'll win this 1 versus 4 in the post plant. With everyone that's still alive on the side of Grid Crusaders, they're all still very healthy in terms of HP count.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the smart move, to hold on to that rifle, play for the next round. They still have some money to work with to, you know, buy that utility, buy that armor. And that was a tough loss to take on round 4 here for OC. They were probably getting a little confident after that recent win, thinking they could hold on to it, keep that momentum, keep their rifles, but they're only going to be able to walk out with 1 and a little bit of cash to show for it. You know, barely any, actually.
Really nullified that great recovery on the 3rd round, essentially, here, as now they're going to have to go for a save and basically rely on Shrony to do all the heavy lifting, as he was able to keep that Phantom in his back pocket from last round. It was a really good save, but you cannot save and just grab 5 rifles all for your teammates that then get put back in the next round, unfortunately. So it'll just be Sheriff Gaming for the most part and 1 sneaky shorty, which, if unchecked, could actually get 1 for entry, which wouldn't be the worst predicament for him. You do remove 1 of the many rifles up on the board for Grid Crusaders, and maybe just burn through a little bit of vital utility as well. Boombot comes in through to gather a tad bit of information, and it will be a nade to try to check out the player of entry away from that corner, but not getting rid of him entirely could once again allow for him to do a little bit of a, how do you call it, tomfoolery in towards Hookah, perhaps?
Any tomfoolery, any rapscallion action, it's really going to come over from Legend, who's circumvented that stack in Hookah, and they just take sight without any problem. We see entry looking to see anyone on short, because they assumed that's where everyone was, but they just decided, no, we're not playing your games, you're playing on our time. And Shrony going down by the way of their own teammate Snakebite. You know, I'll go down on my terms. You're not killing me. Entry's gonna choose how entry dies.
Guess Shrony ended up doing a little bit of trolling there instead. But yeah, you talked about it. No one actually going around in towards short into Hookah. I think Grid Crusaders realized, hey, there's way less attention being put in towards B-Long. Let's just go there. And that happened. And then OC Esports, they kind of just crumbled in that round. But hey, the fact that it was mostly just a save, they were anticipating that, so now they can end up buying rifles to maybe try to make up for their previous troubles, to maybe finally force out Grid Crusaders enough to get their 2nd round win, perhaps. But that is a lot of what ifs and a lot of theoreticals. What if Grid Crusaders, they just once again bombard the bomb site and just start out with success. And there we have it. Legend, a successful first pick, but since he was on such little HP, it'll be an easy wrap up for Shadow. But Schlam is dominating the kill feed, and Kane follows up onto his doppelganger of Shadow Core. Once again, another 1vx for OC Esports looking down on that deficit. You might just want to save here again, Loss.
Gonna have to save. Look at that credit count. Absolutely zero. They poured their last amount of money into this round, and KO doesn't want to risk it over just some heroics. Some bozo heroics to try and take a rifle off of an already balling team. They have so much money to work with that even if you end up killing all of them, they could still buy for the next 2 rounds.
Yeah, ballin', but at what cost? Apparently, it's a really nice skin. Hope you don't lose it there. It's looking quite disastrous here for OC Esports. I was even talking about how Grid Crusaders, their team composition might not help them as much as you would anticipate, but they're remaining on top of things. Apparently, comfort is key and not completely relying on a just full forced meta instead, because although OC Esports, they're technically running a tried and true meta pick when going in on bind, it is not working out for them enough to really provoke it, I suppose.
Mechanics are better than meta, and I guess mental would be up there as well. If you know that you're good enough with this agent, you know you're confident enough to get that utility and take site. It doesn't matter who the strongest agents are, it's who you're the strongest with. And they're showing exactly why. Grid Crusaders up 5 right now, going for this takeover onto B, and there isn't going to be much of a resistance. Remember, these guys are dead broke on the side of OC Esports. Let's see what they could do trying to hold this one down as Legend makes their way up B long.
They can pray. They can pray they kill somebody immediately and maybe pick up a weapon at hand, but it's not looking like that. It's a very slow and methodical approach here, and it's actually a full-fledged rotation with everyone kind of wrapping around in towards A besides Legend, who is waiting patiently around B long Nusso Garden. But he could teleport at any given moment either, but no, he'll end up fully committing, I believe it to be, to maybe try to find some sort of entry. There goes the call from the player sitting inside of U-Haul that it will be an A take, and he does have backup, but it's not quick enough. You got Seekers as well, which could maybe disorientate and impair the visions of a couple players, but will it be enough to secure some sort of kill? It will be at the very first sight, but it's not going to be enough to shut down Kane. Wow, 3 to his name. They all lined up for him. He's looking for 4th, but Tom Lee steals it from his arms. But does it matter? Hell no, as Grid Crusaders, they're good for 6 rounds.
It was looking real desperate toward the end of that spray. You could see that crosshair was going all over the place, just trying to line up that final bullet to finish off the 3rd enemy. But they do get it done regardless. This is looking so good for this squad. Obviously, you know, eco round, eco fraggers aren't exactly the most looked up to stats right now. But keep in mind what this team is capable of in terms of turning around their act as compared to Icebox. I mean, I'm going to mention Icebox every round in this map, but it's worth mentioning to see how a team that had lost 13-3 is now up 6-1.
Really just making, they're just doing so good. There really is no one-liner to express this. This is just pure, just comeback material right here. Grid Crusaders, once again, they're on top of things, only losing Sham off the rip. Argsy will fall to the wayside as well, and oh no, Shrony from U-Haul, he's making so many big plays! He'll get a 3K of his own for OC Esports, but man, it just came down to that one powerful position by Shrony, and that was really it. He was the game changer of that round, but hey, just slowing down the assertion by Grid Crusaders just by a tad bit, that is all you can hope for here, really, for OC.
Just to describe how big of a round that was for OC, Shrony has earned 3/4 of his frags for this map in that last round.
Yeah, it's been quite rough for OC Esports. Not been looking all that hopeful for them. That was a great round win, though. Very necessary one as well that you and I pointed out really heavily. But it has to be another one. Wow. Okay, Shadow Core. Go off, King, I suppose, as he finds a devious angle from a long shot and lands it perfectly. Have OC Esports actually start in the right direction. that might cause some questions to lurk in the minds of Grid Crusaders, whether they want to back off now or fully commit on the deficit. I think they'll try to test their luck around in towards Hookah, perhaps, as the spike carrier is in fact rotating around, perhaps, maybe for a bait, but it just seems like Grid Crusaders, they're just really all over the place currently, Carlos.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing their options right now. They're seeing everything they could do. There was a little bit of overconfidence we were seeing in round 8 as they completely neglected to clear out U-Haul, but they're doing some clearing out right now. Arxie might not spot Shrony in that corner, but they're going to push, but they're not expecting a second player to look for him. And now they have this site. The last two defenders are all the way on the other side of the map, but jumping through that teleporter, it's our teleporter player entry. Let's see what you could do. Sending out that guiding light does get one flash, completely blinds Arxie, and evens this up onto a 2-on-2.
Oh, and it's time's ticking, though. Time's going down fast, and there goes your spike as well. Entry with the third, and Tom Lee, he's just sitting around. He's got to go for frags at this point. Time is ticking down to 000. He's looking for the second one towards Shadow, but he backs off. He knows he can play for the clock and not the kill, and that will be the demise for Grid Crusaders. So unfortunate, and such a successful push by Entry in through the back of TP, and that's why Skye is a must pick. Those guiding lights carried her in terms of setting herself up to win those gunfights and bring the victory back in the hands for OC.
Truly a unnecessary round and unfortunate loss for Grid right there. That's what happens when you're playing too careful and you're biding your time a little too much. You run out of time. And that's exactly what happened because they were just getting caught out over on A, decided to back it up. But let's see if they're going to back it up right now. They won't back down as Entry getting too cocky with that guiding light, expecting to go massive like they did last round, but only ended up facing the firing squad of Grid Crusaders.
Yeah, just instantaneous, just a hail of bullets. Nothing much you could do there, really. And once again, another great and necessary kill for Grid Crusaders. 5-on-3. Kane going for the plant. Shrony inside of U-Haul, though, will slow down the push for the side of OC Esports. Lockdown fully dissipating as well, not detaining a single soul. Keo gets rid of one on towards Tom Lee, looking for another, but there's so much coverage inside of Showers. A blast pack bait, perhaps, not working out in the slightest, as Kane will get rid of the Rays, and Shrani at the very end gets rid of Legend. It is just a constant back and forth here currently in the post plan. Some great utility being expunged to try to stop that spike from being fully diffused. It'll get ticked down to half, and now Shadow Core 1v2 turned 1v1 has to try to clutch this one out, but Arxie, he's so low on health, he can't contest well enough, and there's still plenty of time for a clutch to be had. Shadow Core, he sticks the spike, and he'll win it out for OC Esports.
Things are looking a little dangerous for Grid Crusaders right now. This can be a reverse of what happened over onto Ascent. Not much luck was had by Grid in the first half. They only managed to get one, but turned it into a 5-round win streak toward the latter half of their offense.
It just, I feel like more or less just the utility usage has just been over the top for OC Esports. They're actually utilizing Viper and the Astra, and on top of that, the Skye, just 10 times better than what they did at the very beginning of the matchup. That's what's been helping them so much. I mean, the Viper smokes and also the Astra gravity wells on top of it as well. It fully denied out any type of recovery for Grid there. And oh no, the showstopper not working out in the slightest as you just try to blitzkrieg into sight and get immediately shut down for it. Instantaneous punishment, I suppose. Losing out 5-on-4 turned now 4-3. Legend will get one for his troubles though. KO not going to find another hilarious kill just yet. And Grid Crusaders, they'll still attempt to work their way in towards B, but I think, Carlos, they might be having second thoughts, perhaps. I think they're going for a rotation.
Definitely looking like a rotation at this point, and it makes sense because OC is dug in over onto B, but I might have to eat my words in just a moment. A rotation over back onto B long. I think they might be sticking this one out. It's a fake rotation. If they can catch Entry off guard right now, this could be their site control.
Yeah, not a lot of time either. You've got to decide, should we go for a full push in or what? And there it will be. Recon Bolt will gather some vital intel, allowing Kane to step up. He'll go for the push in towards Elba, but Entry will win that. But there is too much presence by Grid Crusaders and not enough for the trade. Shrony, desperately needing that kill, will secure it. And now we're back in a 1v1 once again. This could go either way, but Tom Lee has no clue where Shrony is set up at inside of sight. He's playing in the back corner, and it's an easy kill for him once again. A huge clutch for the several hundredth time for OC Esports, as they're bringing this back similar to how Grid Crusaders did on map 2.
A lot of these plays are working so well for Grid, but they just fall through their fingers like sand, crumbling down. They can't hold it together. They need to be concrete and rock solid once they get control on site. I mean, that was a rough position for them to try and do, doubling back to force their way onto B site and not being able to effectively clear out Elbow without losing any members. But this is looking pretty tough. Also, I'd like to highlight the fact that Path right now, the Astra on OC, is only bringing out one frag for this map so far.
Huh. Yeah, definitely some food for thought here, but I guess we got to get back in the meat and potatoes here of this round. Hunter's Fury to start off with a great kill on the Entry, and Arxie will respond onto a frag as well. Grid Crusaders, they're done with the monkey business here. They are getting serious now in the 5-on-2, with Tom Lee securing the plant as well. There is a bit of a resurgence here, but it ends up with just KO. In the 1 versus 3 situation, you could try to maybe at least get one of the players set up near the boxes lighting in towards showers. Be able to be a quick push away from that, though. And that will basically seal the fate here of KO. Maybe if he found that first pick, this could have been a win still, but there really isn't much else that he can do. Every which way is being guarded well by Grid Crusaders. It's a constant back and forth of gunfire, basically putting in KO one shot away from death as he'll try to blast pack his way up, goes for a potential right click, but Legend is there in the perfect position. A really good recovery by OC Esports overall in terms of round count. They're only at a 2-round deficit, but it will still be a win for Grid Crusaders to bring them in an advantage moving into the second half.
What we needed to see from Grid right there was absolute aggression, a full commitment, because while being cautious and careful initially had brought them some success, OC was prepared for that. They had some careful rotators, or maybe people cautious enough to not rotate, that they could counteract that. There was too much pussyfooting, and they needed to just force their way onto a site, and it worked out perfectly because OC wasn't ready to counteract on that one.
Yeah, not enough assertion to actually keep the round in your hands, I suppose. But we're back on pistols, a clean slate, I suppose. And maybe this could be where OC Esports finally regains all of that domination that they had all the way back on Mountain 1, as they are still down on a deficit. And they haven't been looking as hopeful as before. It's been a lot of neck and neck clutches, which could have even ended up going the way of Grid Crusaders. But it's a full-fledged retake position, a rotation through the mid teleporter leading in towards B. Spike now down, though, as the shorty kill will be successful. And now you have to see him just run into the Hellfire and smoke. Legend with another close quarters kill, removing Shadow Core, but he'll eventually meet the same fate with the hands of Entry, with the pistol at hand. And there it goes. Grid Crusaders, their defensive hold is looking phenomenal, forcing Path 1vx. You can try to find one in towards sight, but he'll just get dinked right in the head. The pistol round, once again, boding quite well for Grid Crusaders after a beautiful counter of that rotation through teleporters.
Big fan of that teleporter play. Picking up 2 frags with the shorty Legend. That's some legendary stuff. I'm a lover of cheeky shorty plays, and that's exactly what you love to see. And it definitely hurts the mental of someone who ever gets killed by one of those.
Yeah. Nothing you could do after that, man. You just you got to delete your Valorant account. You got to uninstall it from your game, from your computer, pardon.
That's actually part of the UPL League protocols. If you get killed by a shorty, you must uninstall.
Yeah, so now we should be in a 5-on-3 essentially. And hey, with Grid Crusaders fragging off the rip, it could turn into another 5-on-3. It is already the 5v4, and oh no, Path just gets a ton of shrapnel from the paint shells directly in his face. On such little health already from the get-go, he might fall to the wayside sooner rather than later. And now even on even less HP as he gets tagged slightly in the shoulder, I believe it to be. Grid Crusaders, they're looking to find another one perhaps, as Legend is just running into them once again, but Path, a deadly shot with the Sheriff, might be able to find another one perhaps, but no, it's nothing but net for Schlam as he finds a third onto the round, now forcing Path to do nothing but try to frag on out, but he'll meet the same fate as a majority of his teammates, just getting outgunned by Schlam.
This is just, it's a mirror matchup. It's a mirror matchup in terms of how Grid and OC are playing. Just forcing it down showers, forcing it down short to take the fight to the attackers rather than wait for them. And, you know, OC isn't ready for that type of play style. They're the ones who attack. They don't defend, and we're seeing exactly why we saw so much pushing from them in earlier maps and earlier rounds. It's because they can't really handle that yet.
No, not necessarily, I suppose. And maybe the small recovery by OC Esports might have just been a fluke, perhaps. As Grid Crusaders, they do seem on top of things once again. Let's just hope they don't throw this one away. Kind of like how OC Esports did on map number 2, but currently just looking to be an A main push for the most part, as it is just a plethora of both Viper abilities and also guiding lights, even the Owl drone as well, trying to maybe tag somebody with that dart to gather any bit of information that they can. They're looking to go for a plant perhaps, but Schlam is still denying this one quite well, regardless of all the different pieces of utility in front of his face currently. Entry now going for that plant. There will be some coverage here by Keo that will allow for the spike to be brought down once again, and it'll be confirmed this time around, I believe it to be, fully on the ground in this current moment. 4 versus 4. We could see OC Esports possibly recover from this, as they aren't down on the man count. However, might need to worry about some type of retake capabilities that Grid Crusaders have. They've got control of U-Haul, and if they win that fight against Keo, that could be it for them. But no, Keo will actually gun diff out Arxie, and Shadow with a necessary kill as well. 4-on-2 scenario. You're down on a severe man count disadvantage, and really nothing else to put it there bluntly. This is just looking to be a great post-plant position for OC Esports, and Grid Crusaders, they aren't really able to get their footing into anywhere valuable on the map except maybe U-Haul, but that is really it. Tom Lee, she'll try to find a possible frag here. She'll get one, but not enough to secure another one as Path is there. OC Esports, a very necessary round win, and keeping a majority of their teammates alive is still a very good one.
Yeah, a very well-played offense by OC. You know, definitely a post-plant that we were waiting to see. As we have seen in previous rounds, especially on Ascent, over that B site, I can't get over that. The post-plant scenarios are what they struggle with most, and if they can keep it down like that, if they can hold their angles and force everyone to play on their terms, play their angles, force them to be pushed, and not make any unnecessary peeks, not take any angles they don't need to, just like Schlam took right there, then OC can continue to score some offensive wins here.
Yeah, perfect pull, and that completely caught the Rays off guard. Schlam not getting any success like he was able to a few rounds prior, and already so much of the map has been opened up. Essentially, Grid Crusaders, they're backing up in towards Vents and Heaven to maybe try to win this one out in the retake. They're basically allowing the spike to be put onto the ground here, and now they've got to try to maybe get control of U-Haul and also try to just stick it perhaps with the spike and defuse it here. Decaying effect going in through by that Viper smoke. Pathlet 1, not able to get another one though, as Kane is there with a quick push in through, but a second smoke will impair his vision to allow Shadow Core to shut him down, and it's just nothing but a lack of sight lines here, or any type of vision really. The snake bite finishing off Legend. It is just complete and utter victory for OC Esports inside of the bomb site, as these post plants having so much both stun capabilities and also just smokes, it's making these post plants quite seamless.
It causes a lot of chaos considering how many different smokes are there to prevent any sort of retake. You know, you can't kill or you can't defuse what you can't see. And OC knows where the bomb is. They know that they just have to defend that entrance to showers or shoot or spam the spike location. So it becomes a much easier play. And without the ability to zone out or, you know, take away space using a paint shells from Rays, they can't do that very easily. It's going to be much more difficult in terms of retake if they don't have that space game.
Oh, Legend missing out on all of his daggers there, not even able to pick up a single kill, and is now on very low health. I need to play much more conservatively here.
What?
But wow, the right click will work out better with the pistol instead of his own ultimate ability. The save is actually working wonders for Grid Crusaders somehow, but it'll only be a small resurgence apparently, as it's just going to be OC Esports once again, bringing things back a little bit for the time being. The showstopper works out on both sides, and Schlam actually kills himself in the process. Entry now, one-on-one confrontation. Both players having rifles, I believe it to be, but Entry could possibly use a guiding light here to at least blind out the last remaining player here of ArcZ, but Entry just extending himself a little bit too much, brings him down to one-shot potential once again. He's just burning through the clock, though. He knows he has this in the bag, and there we have it. He'll get the last frag on top of things, the icing on top of the cake, I suppose it to be, and OC Esports, once again, they're trying to make the comeback.
It was a solid eco round, to be honest. I wouldn't have expected all of those pistols to allow them to turn that into even a one-on-one. But Entry knew that was a fake, and that's such a hard situation to be in if you're ArcZ, when you know that the last defender knows you're faking it, and they're in such a tight angle that you have to get all the way around the bomb site to actually even peek them. It's a horrible position to be in as a defender.
Nothing much you can do there. That was still a great round, though, for Grid Crusaders, regardless of them losing it. Like you mentioned, they weren't going into that one being like, oh yeah, we got this one in the bag. I still thought it was a hilarious ultimate, though, with the showstopper, to say the least. So maybe Schlam won't end up blowing himself up. He will take a bit of premature damage, but will do a lot more against his opponents than he did beforehand. But Path will be there for a quick refrag, so it'll equalize the man count once again. As OC Esports, there's so many smokes, and the Viper's Pit, it'll be preemptively taken care of, though. It's a decisive shot now to actually give Grid Crusaders the advantage once again, as they're actually shutting out this push into A quite effectively. And now that the Viper's Pit is no longer there, she died much earlier on in the round, and oh no! The improper timing by Path! Legend must have heard it or something. The astral form will be punished instantly, and now Entry, he's in a 1vx situation. I don't know if he can bring this one back. He's good for one. He knows there's one player inside of U-Haul, but he's expecting the push first in towards Showers. He'll rip out the Seekers, giving him that vital information and maybe even blinding out one, but they'll both be shot down, so it won't be all that much, but just knowing that there is Kane set up inside of Showers and one to his immediate left that could go into possible rotation. Still sitting in the middle of sight, though. Entry, a massive frag onto Kane. He could maybe actually win this one out, but did he spot out the player in the back of green boxes? No, he didn't spot the arm on the divot. It's going to be a win regardless by Grid Crusaders, but a valiant effort nonetheless by OC Esports.
ArcZ wasn't going to allow themselves to lose another one-on-one against Entry. They couldn't let it happen. They had to clutch that one out for sure. And a bit of the issue with that one was that they had to play a bit of a better contact. But, you know, when you aren't completely sure of the location of that last player, I guess just play your life, try and run out the clock. As long as you have control of Spike, you don't have to worry too much about, you know, any sort of flank, because they have to come to you. But even in that situation, it was very dangerous for Grid Crusaders, and still in this game is OC Esports, but out of this round is Shadowcore.
Yep. He'll meet the fate that he ended up giving a lot of players earlier. I'm out number 2 with that operator, so I guess that's a bit of taste of his own medicine, I suppose. OC Esports trying to get inside of B as quickly as possible. There is still some coverage inside of Elbow, but that is just about it, as the rest of the defenders are trying to locate themselves near the defender lobby doorway leading in towards B. That's just about it. They've got a lockdown to work with here, and they do find one onto Path, but that is really it. It'll only be a minor setback here currently. Legend, a great shot onto Keo. Shrani will get one, though, immediately onto Tom Lee. She'll no longer be in the round. And Legend trying to make ends meet with the Blade Storm. It's not going to happen well enough. The post plant doing quite well for OC Esports, and they are only one round behind once again.
Keep in mind that Shorty left 2 health over onto Shroni. 2 health, that would have been a doable round if those shots connected, or if those shots did enough damage to turn that into a one-on-one. I mean, these rounds can go either way. Most players on this squad are capable of easily winning 1vx situations, and of course Legend is one of those players who could do it, especially on Grid Crusaders.
They've been able to bring back unwinnable situation at certain moments, but maybe with their jumbled up buy and losing Schlam off the rip, that might not be the case. OC Esports, at least they want to equalize the round count, perhaps, as they just try to bombard themselves in towards A. Finally, a right click working out for Kane. Not quick enough, though, to find a second on a Shadow Core. He's there with the exact same weapon at hand. And there goes KO onto Legend with a nice wall bang. ArcZ, Sheriff, and a Dream. At least he can maybe try to find some exits, perhaps, and just try to slightly worsen the eco of OC Esports, but I don't think he could even find one as Entry's waiting patiently in the little cubby area and towards A main. There we have it, 10-10. OC Esports, they are making this one an absolute barn burner of a matchup on Bind.
Yeah, that last round was not much of a showing from Grid, but of course, they were busting out the shorties, the Buckies. We didn't expect too much, but I kind of expected a little bit more, especially if you're looking at Schlam, who's trying to get that early aggression, that one corner kill in terms of using that shorty in showers. But they're too quick for that. They were expecting something, when the economy's low, you could expect a cheesy strat, and Keo saw right through that.
This time around, though, they do have really good weaponry currently in their locker, so hopefully that could help them out in terms of stopping out this mostly shower-sided affair. So far it will, but it will just be tips for taps, essentially, as it's just a little bit of a back and forth, just a really consistent trade game currently as OC Esports. They won't have that much success inside of showers. They'll be slowed down a bit, but they do have a lot of success inside of U-Haul. I don't think they know Path is directly in front of them. Two massive frags on the round. You've got complete control of sight, and you can't do much inside of Heaven. Maybe use your Hunter's Fury to stop that plant from going in down. You'll hear it pop off in the background, and there's Legend on the flank. We could see some chaos erupting inside of sight, but Path will shut it down before it even fully sprouts on up. A third for his name. Maybe trying to find a fourth, perhaps. He won't end up doing that, but Shadow Core will secure the final kill. OC Esports, a brilliant push inside of U-Haul to secure them the round advantage.
Grid is broke again. They're going to have to save and wait to try and retake this game on match point. And not just match point, series point. For OC to come through and win it all after a strong showing from Grid on the offensive half.
I mean, I knew that this matchup would be a lot more neck and neck in comparison, but man, it's just Grid Crusaders, they're at their wits' end, really. Like you said, it's going to come down to match point more or less, as this round is looking to be a loss. You've got Sheriffs up against Rifles, although you can get some nasty one-taps with that Sheriff. You're not always going to be able to meet your mark entirely. And now you've got Seekers to worry about as well. Schlam will try to blast back away from them in a last-ditch effort, but the showstopper will be his demise, including Kane's as well. He'll fall the wayside on top of it, too. ArcZ will get one on towards Shrawny, but we're now in the post-plant situation, and KO, he doesn't need the showstopper to find all of his frags. He'll get a third. Deadly one-tap by Legend.
Nice,
he needs to find another. Yeah, it was a great shot, but I don't know if he'll be able to find another one, perhaps. He's still creeping up in towards sight, but the long angle, the Sheriff is not as powerful as it once was. No longer can you call a pocket operator, as in long-range gun engagements, it's just not as good as it used to be. And now we're in match point. This could be where Grid Crusaders could come back, but they need to win this.
One critical factor on their success right now is going to be Legend on that operator. A huge investment going for that glass cannon, only buying the half shields. If they could pivot around this one player to just stop those aggressive pushes, to seek out wherever this main push is coming from, and give them pause to make a full commitment to a site, have them rethink their strategy, because this squad isn't known for their massive rotations. They usually force one site. They can give them pause, make them rethink what they're up to. It might be exactly what Grid needs, but that flash is going to almost take out Legend and their one factor to win.
I cannot believe literally 1 HP now. At least we'll have ArcZ be quite successful. He wanted that operator, but he'll just rifle him down and towards A main. There's your first frag favoring your side, but you need much more than just one. And Entry will secure a refrag on towards Schlam. Soon to be a possible plant. Still have a lot of sight lines denied for a little bit, perhaps, but No, it's actually just a bit of a stalemate currently. OC Esports not entirely sure as to how they want to play this one out. Everyone is just holding down a certain angle and waiting for the opposing side to make that first mistake. And really, the biggest thing that's catching my eye, Carlos, is the fact that Legend, he's on 1 HP. One shot will basically just eradicate him, and there goes your operator.
What?
But oh my god, perfect information,
No
right
way,
place at the
Legend!
right time for Legend. He may be a glass cannon, but it's blown up to high hell. He gets 3 on the round, and Arxie with the cleanup crew in full effect. It will keep Grid Crusaders alive for a little while longer. We could see overtime possibly.
Oh my god, Legend with the Galaxy Brain call out pinged over to get the information from King to use that recon on. They knew this was a game of chicken. They knew everybody was holding corners, waiting for someone to make the first move, and once they got that confirmation that Entry was hiding in that cubby, it was game over. Headshot locked in from Legend, and following up with 2 more kills, insanity.
Yeah, glass cannon quite literally, as you could have thrown a pebble at him and he would have just cracked entirely, but still saving that op into the next round as well. Like I said, this could narrowly guarantee an overtime position. It'll just depend on who could really start off with that gun differential, I suppose. Legend, once again, very aggressive position. He'll get spotted out by that owl drone, but he'll be able to dash right out of harm's way. And it will actually be a rotation coming through by OC Esports as well, as they do not want to test that operator in the slightest. They're going to respect that gun entirely, but another gun you need to respect, it's that Judge. And there we have it, a great shot on towards Entry, already starting off strong, but you still have to worry about that plant position possibly, Carlos, but it's being denied perfectly as well by the rest of Grid Crusaders. It's just nothing but net for him, and now KO having to ace to stop a possible overtime situation. He might not be able to get this one in the books for his team, but at least he'll start out with 1. Needs to find 4 more, though. Very unwinnable situation looking to be. He needs to find at least 2 more kills. Rushes out on 1. That's a massive pick on a Kane, but from behind, Legend strikes with the operator, and now we've gone the full distance, Carlos. It's overtime.
He was very ballsy with these blast packs. I'm liking them. I'm liking them a lot. They do create interesting opportunities, and that one was enough to dodge the operator shot from Legend and pick up a second kill as well. But, you know, that trick is only going to allow you at least 1 when you're going up in a crossfire of 4 different players.
That Judge play as well was absolutely to die for. And if you were Entry, you literally died because of it. Oh my god. He had no clue what he was about to get himself into. But sadly, no judges and no operators either in towards overtime, as you have a very limited cash when it comes to what you're able to buy. Not seeing the glass cannon just yet. I'm thinking maybe on the defense we'll see Legend opt back for the sniper in hand, but at the current moment, it's just nothing but rifles. And currently for Grid Crusaders, they're attempting to go in towards B from Fountain, but they are being dealt with quite well from the hands of Shadow Core.
Wait a minute, that push from Hookah actually just decimated the defenses they had on hand over on B. The force into teleporter from Entry just left this site wide open. Now Roni has made their way over onto site, waiting in the back. They don't know Tom Lee. She lost her life running with the knife out, and this just became a doable retake situation. Arxie is all alone, a 1v2. Can they pull this out and secure at least a second overtime, if not the win? 1 kill comes out, but a second isn't 1. It's gonna be KO, securing a 13th round.
A close call down to a single confrontation inside of B. Another round here for OC Esports, and they will stop the onslaught in overtime, as it is infinite in the game of Valorant, in case you didn't know. So we could be here for quite some time if we don't see 2 consistent round wins in a row by either team. If Grid Crusaders brings this one back from the grave once again, and we're going to be back at square one, essentially. And I'm thinking that might be the case because they played a whole lot better on defense than they did on the attack.
Let's see how this push up through Showers works. It doesn't. That's their bread and butter. Getting that aggressive angle through Showers, and both of them are going to be shut down. Neither Keo nor... I forgot what the other player's name was.
It's been a long day. It's been a long day, Carlos. I understand. Sometimes it's hard to see. I could feel you, man. I've been struggling a couple of times too. I hate to break it to you, but doesn't seem like Grid Crusaders is currently struggling at all. It appears to be OC Esports on that receiving barrel of just getting the backhand. Essentially, they're getting slapped around silly, and we might see just infinite overtime rear its ugly head for a little while longer, unless we see a miracle play come out by OC Esports and a massive deficit. It appears that Grid Crusaders are well aware that B is being approached upon. They're in a powerful position to try to stop that one out, but no, the blast pack gets tossed out by Schlam, and Shadow Core punishes him for it. Entry responds on an Arc Z as well. Hold on a second. If not for this possible flank, this could be so winnable. Wall bang onto one, but not another. He hears that rotation up near teleporter and will try to stop this one from coming in through the smoke to stop the guiding light. A double think in the head, but no, it's not enough. Entry on 30 HP remains alive, and he's got the Seekers to back him up as well, but dies to the hands of Tom Lee. She will stop any of that tomfoolery from Hookah, and once again, we're back at square one, Carlos.
Whew. I'm loving this series, man. Fellow, this is a great series. I can't believe we made it to map 3 double overtime right now.
Where was this map 1? Where was this?
Their hands were cold. Their hands were cold on the side of
I mean, they were in
Grid.
Icebox, so I guess that's fair enough.
It's really chilly over there, so you gotta make sure that you got your hand warmers. And also, don't forget to bring your aim, which they have brought in the last 2 maps.
Even on map 1, they had some really good rounds where players like Schlam were just popping off. Maybe that will be another big point of contention if Schlam will either get entryed or be the one entering. He's got a little bit of backup here, as it will be a mostly B-sided affair with no one watching a possible flank, but no one's watching the immediate corner when running in through guard, and KO will be able to mark it off of that lack of information. That will slow down the pace for a little while. Also a little bit of stuns coming in through as well to disorientate ArcZ, and now a Toxic Scream right in front of their face as well. Nothing much you can do. Slowing down this push, we might end up just seeing an A rotation, but OC Esports, they've got that possible approach covered as well, with 2 players set up in both Heaven and U-Haul.
Right here. And that extra pick over onto ArcZ isn't going to make matters much easier, especially considering they revealed they were still over there. And now this teleport is going to seal the deal. The commitment has been made. They're going over to A site, and Schlam is going to make it a little bit easier with that first pick, but they will be traded out. Now they do have site control, but we have Shadow Core coming from Heaven, sending out those shock darts, trying to make things a little difficult for the planters, but they're going to be okay. But Kane sure isn't after taking a bullet to the dome, and now it's all up to Tom Lee, and she can't close it out, being triple teamed with 3 different types of utility, all sending her to the next round.
Back here again. OC Esports, they've got a chance to end out the series with one more decisive victory, but it appears that Vine has been a little bit more defensive favorited for both teams as of now. Maybe that could finally change. I really am wondering if Legend's going to rock the operator, perhaps, but apparently not. He's not going to want to opt to go for a glass cannon situation once again, although I think personally he did really good on that roll. Nothing but rifles once again, and to be honest, I think we might need to grab maybe some extra water, maybe get ourselves really comfortable in our seats currently, Carlos, as we still might be here for quite a while.
You don't think this is going to end right here? Now we're going to triple OT, even a quadruple OT?
Maybe. I'm not too sure. I feel like it'll be a little bit of a different situation, perhaps, but I think Grid Crusaders, I think they still have enough fuel in the tank to then she'll bring this one back. And yeah, I think that with that entry, that's going to help out a whole lot.
Shrony, map 3 OT, you can't be doing that. You can't have an angle like that be the thing to take you down, but it's going to come right back at them. They're making their way over onto B site. ArcZ holding it down, though. Is they going to get a second? No. They will make their way onto site, and it's all up to Tom Lee to hold it down by herself, waiting the teammates to come through. Hookah Backup is here, and Entry is looking really damaged at this point with only 23 health, and he has been revealed. Shadow Core ducking below that extra piece of metal, but it won't be enough because Legend is too diligent to take them down. Entry holding it down against Tom Lee, but they can't do it, and we're going into another overtime.
Called it. It's been incredibly defensive-sided, though, for both teams, essentially. Their strongholds, even in post plants, have been looking top notch, really, especially on Bind in particular. We're just kind of at a crossroad, really, where we're on the defensive side. All right, we got one in the bag, and then vice versa when you switch out on the side after the other round. It's going to come down to making less mistakes off the rip for the most part, because having Legend secure that impactful of a kill at the very beginning of the round, that is just that led to a snowball effect, essentially, to put it bluntly. And Grid Crusaders, they wasted little to no time securing another possible chance at winning the best of 3.
Well, I think it all depends on if you can win the offense, you can win the overtime. And if they could get that first pick, it really is going to set a good tone for themselves. Look on this split. Only 2 players holding it down onto A site, while that attack is opposite. 3 trying to take over onto A, but they have to make sure they check that corner with Keo in it.
Yeah, Grid Crusaders, they are just making sure that any kind of choice they can have here will work out for them. They want to find any kind of minute mistake here, really, and there goes the first one. Tom Lee, she'll eradicate KO in the immediate beginning of the round, and wow, a second one to her name as well. Shrony goes to the wayside. This could be a great post-plant position in a matter of seconds here, as it's just complete coverage inside of A. You've got the retake to worry about now, but you already are in that 5-on-3, even a lockdown too, that's going to burn through so much seconds here. A guiding light will attempt. It's very aggressive by Entry, and Legend is there to shut it out before it can even go into full force. Legend with 2, and Path is detained. This could be a knife kill for Arxie. Oh no, way to add insult to injury. A flawless victory for Grid Crusaders off of just a masterful rush into A.
That was an excellent performance by Tom Lee specifically. She put that round on her back, securing both the kill over onto Keo and Shrony, trying to get cheeky by moving through that nebula from U-Haul, but she knew what was going on. She knew the deal. If she got 1 kill from one side, had to be ready for that flank, and taking out both of them ensured a lockdown along with that plan. It made it so much more difficult for a retake to even be considered. And here we go. It's Legend back on the operator.
The glass cannon, as we've coined it, as we have seen him pop off incredibly with just a sliver of health, a fraction to work off of, essentially. With the operator, you've got to be precise regardless, so might as well pretend that you are only on 1 HP at some moments, I suppose. And so far, OC Esports, they don't have to worry about that operator, as there are plenty of smokes stopping Legend from actually getting any proper lines of sight. Just kind of trapped inside of Elbow for a little while, and another smoke possibly coming in down. It will be eventually, and now Legend just sitting inside of it. Can't really do all that much as the plant's going on down in the background. 5 versus 3 for OC, and the fact that there has just been little to no usage there from that operator, it has really just, it's nullified Grid Crusaders entirely, and they might just lose because of that many factor of the operator. Entry with 1 on a Schlam. We'll have Tom Lee get 1 in a response, but I mean, I think honestly, Carlos, the damage already being done, there's really nothing that Grid Crusaders can do all that much. We still have KO in a great position here, and he's got backup from the rest of his team. OC Esports, they will keep this overtime situation alive, and I might need to get some more water in a minute. We're going to be here for quite some time, apparently.
This is the longest singular map I've had so far in my commentating career here with Valorant. That's a lot. That's a whole lot of rounds. And what are we trying to go to? 16, 17, 18. Fuck it. Run it up to 2020.
Up. Okay. Well, Grid Crusaders looking to go for A once again. Did a really good job of starting with the aggression off the bat, especially with the hands of Tom Lee. She found 2 incredible kills to set the tone for Grid Crusaders in a post-plant position, but now they're being locked out quite efficiently by both Asher Smokes, Viper Walls, and also some guiding lights as well could come into the mix as well in a few seconds here, but eventually they will find some space to maybe try to get that plant down, but it's still not going to be entirely marketable just yet. Legend will get one on the Shadow Core before he can find a second one, but Path and Entry are there. Legend from behind tries to find another one, but it's only going to be good for one. Legend down with a third on the round. They'll need to ace this one out to secure the victory here for Grid Crusaders. Still has that Blade Storm, and it is in a post plant, so the ball is in their game currently, but it's not going to be enough. There's Keo, and he even has backup from the Astra. They'll get that defuse successfully down, and we'll have it back in the favor of OC Esports. 16-15. We've gone past the threshold of 30 rounds, Carlos.
Defenders always win on this map. That's just how it goes, except for the last round of overtime, which, you know, that's a fluke. It doesn't count. Let's see if they could continue this momentum. Is OC going to be able to break the curse of this last match? We got to get out of here, folks. We're being stuck in an infinite loop of overtime.
It is, yeah, we're gonna be here for a hot minute. Hopefully not anymore. Knock on wood. That's not to say I don't want Grid Crusaders to lose. That's not the case. We've just been here for a long while. Both internet issues of mine and also just a beautiful comeback by Grid Crusaders. They've really cemented themselves as an underdog position. But now, if they want to have the full story be a happy ending, then they need to win this one out. And losing Schlam off the rip like that, it's making it look like that could be possibly not the current storyline here. The villains of OC Esports might be able to secure this last round for a full-fledged victory of 2-1. But there is a trade, so we're in an equalized man count once again. But here we have it, Carlos. There goes the spike, fully confirmed.
Tom Lee could have helped secure their fairy tale ending, but no, that pick is going to be crucial. They lost elbow control and allow another player, Path, to take control of that so they don't have many avenues to go through. Artsy and Legend both fall at the same time, but Kane is the last one alive. Can they hold it down against 3? They're stuck behind the box, but no! It's going to be Entry to lock it down, and OC Esports, after so much overtime, is going to close out this series 2-1. Oh my God, fellow. I can't believe we went through such a long recovery by Grid for them to not come out on top. And OC secures it down with their new record of 2-0.
So sad. You hate to see it, but they got their first map victory, and they almost brought that back. In comparison to week number 1, it does look like Crusaders could actually give you a run for your money. So be on the lookout for them. And they did so much better than I honestly anticipated. That was a hell of a show to look over. But that concludes it for us. It's been a long night here at UPL, and I think everyone just wants to go home, especially Hyper. So I think we'll let his misery finally come to an end. But I've been joined here by Los as well, up in the caster booth, and everyone else in the background as well. We greatly appreciate you both. Our observer of here, I'll shout you out, KC, and also Hyper, like I mentioned, in production as well. Hope you enjoyed the show, and to see you all again for more UPL action, no matter what game it will be. Have a great night, everybody.